he's really gone. Dig that crazy Santa Claus with his bag of toys. Drags his sack through a chimney stack. All the little hellcats jump for joy. So cool it, Rudy, cool it. With your nose aglow.
All right, welcome everybody to our holiday show for 2022. We're having a bit of a COVID surge here in LA County, so it's not going to be quite as merry for us as I think it is for others. But hopefully, everybody out there is making a good recovery and not getting sick and all the rest of that stuff. We do have some unfortunate, sad news at the top of the show. We've lost a few people, starting with Kirstie Alley, which I think was totally unforeseen. Recently diagnosed with colon cancer, and then it just took her out really fast, kind of like Audrey Hepburn.
About that to me, I mean, she died. That's ridiculous. But Kirstie was 71.
I know.
In my mind, Kirstie was not. In my mind, I thought we were around the same age. For one thing, she's 10 years older than me. I'm 61. So somehow that because she was just sort of youthful, very youthful. And of course, when we run into her, I think who did she? Which Star Trek was she in? She played
two. She was Wrath of Khan.
She was in the Wrath of Khan, and people, nobody has been talking. Everybody's talking about Cheers and stuff. No, she was Wrath of Khan, man. That's my Kirstie Alley. Wow, but 71.
Gosh, it's hard. That's a hard one for me because Kirstie Alley isn't like a generation that should be passing away. No. I mean, Kirstie Alley, I watched not just on Star Trek, but on Cheers for years. I mean, Veronica's Closet is how so many people know her. But I mean, come on, she replaced Shelley Long on Cheers. And I still remember, like it was yesterday, that episode where they introduced Kirstie Alley, where she's the new manager and, Sam has sold the bar and all that stuff. And she walks out of the office just looking like, $1 million. And Sam, the way they worked up the joke was that Sam was like, oh, yeah, Sam's ladies' man. He can take any of them. And what are going to be the first words out of Sam's mouth? Oh, I got. And as soon as she walks out, Sam looks at her and he goes, and that was the joke. He was speechless. A mumble came out.
And it spoke to how exquisitely beautiful Kirstie Alley was at the time. So, all of that. And, oh well, that's a bummer.
It is what it is.
That's a bummer. Yeah. Miles Lane, who a lot of folks will know as the TV judge guy. But Miles, we were just talking about, refereed that Tyson Holyfield fight where Tyson bit off Holyfield. He was a real referee. That was his fight.
and as we were prepping for the show, I teased you by saying, well, Mike Tyson is officially the number 2 most biting athlete in pro sports. And you asked me, well, who's number 1? Well, same for the show. Number 1 would be, see, I'm in World Cup mode right now. That's why award season has been so rough for me, because the World Cup is in Qatar. And because it's so hot in Qatar, they couldn't play during the summer, so they moved it into basically our fall and winter. And here we are, I'm like watching movies in the World Cup at the same time, getting up at 2 a.m, and I'm getting no sleep. It's ridiculous. But no, the all-time bitingest athlete would be the star Uruguayan player who was just eliminated. Uruguay just got kicked out, Luis Suarez. Oh. Luis Suarez has bit opposing players 3 times in his career. And
you know what? I said I did not know that. I think I might have known that. I don't know why.
And it's weird. It would be weird if it were once. It would be really, really strange and problematic and probably cause for therapy if he had done it twice. But 3 times?
Yeah, dude.
And I remember one of them was in a World Cup game, I don't know, 8 years ago probably. And I remember watching that game and watching live on television as Suarez is bodying up to another player off the ball, and he just leans over and he bites the guy on the shoulder.
Yeah,
right there in the field. And I remember thinking, what? Are you kidding me? And I think that was the second time. And then the announcers came in and he got carded for the whole thing. And the announcers came in and said, wow, that's weird. He did that once previously. And I remember thinking, he did? Really? And then somehow he did it again. So
how do you know what card to give a guy for doing that? I mean, I guess it's a yellow card, but I guess they're all yellow. But still, it would be a special card.
FIFA, there's a latitude on cards. Like referees are allowed to give warnings early in the game and so forth. But there are certain things like, if you are putting another player's safety at risk, it's an automatic yellow.
Yeah,
and for some reason, another automatic yellow is taking your shirt off during the game.
I noticed that happened. Who was that? Was that the Cameroonian?
It was I think it was the Cameroonian player. Yeah, who scored the winning goal against Brazil in their final group stage. And I mean, it's like, come on, let the guy celebrate. Plus, you know what? He's got a great body. So
all of these guys take their shirts off.
Let the man show off to the world. He just scored a goal against Brazil, and they beat Brazil. Are you kidding me? Let the man celebrate. Let him show off what he's got.
Football, soccer is one of the few sports where I never get angry when anybody takes their shirt off. Male, female, the men, the women, everybody. It's just all great. Soccer and beach volleyball.
And it was funny about that because the ref, clearly he was laughing. You could see him talking to the guy at the end. He's like, "I'm sorry, man, I got to do it. It's the rules. You know how it is." And he was okay with it. He was okay with it.
Oh my God,
very strange. Anyway,
lastly, not movies, but Bob McGrath, long,
man,
I think one of the last of the original Sesame Street cast.
Yeah,
90 years old, long life, nice long life, Bob. But he would have been one of the ones who was there when I was actually a child.
Look, as I have mentioned on this show before, I grew up and went to school with Holly Robinson, whose dad was the original Gordon at that time. And, so that I was thinking of that when he passed. I was thinking, wow, he was on the show with Holly's dad and a whole bunch of other people who aren't on the show and probably aren't around anymore. And, that one stings because he was, like Bob McGrath was the guy who sang all the songs.
And he was always, he was a human. He didn't play Carrie. He was a person. He was Bob, on the show. And, among those human beings that were consistent across 60 years now? 50,
man, it's about 60 years. It's about 50. No, maybe when did it start? 60, I think it was 67, maybe when the show started. So we're 55 years. 55 years. Yeah, it's crazy. What a run, and it continues. Well, anyway, let's get in. We got a lot of stuff, but we want to start the show by sharing an interview. We had a great interview with Warren Pereira. And Warren Pereira made a documentary called Tiger 24, which is an amazing documentary. And, most of the docs, like right now, we're in the LAFCA voting phase and, getting ready for that. And the documentary competition has become so ferocious, so incredibly fierce. And it's just Netflix is throwing money at docs, and HBO throws money at docs, and National Geographic throws money at docs. And you have a lot of these, BBC, you have these big operations, and a lot of these are really slick and polished documentaries. Warren Pereira is a guy who basically had a story to tell. He's from India originally, and it's the story of T24, which is this tiger. It'll all come out, but a tiger that has been subject to a very, very controversial sequence of events in India. And they have tiger preserves in India. This is the thing, where tigers are supposed to roam free and it's their habitat. But every once in a while, you got a place where the buffer zone between tiger habitat and human activity is not what it probably should be. And things go south. And tigers get in this case, get the worst of it. So it's this is an amazing documentary, and Warren wrote it and produced it and directed it and edited and shot it and is the interviewer, and he's on camera. I mean, it is a one-person effort on a level that I haven't seen in a very, very long time. I think this is a superb documentary, and compared to others where you have a factory that's producing all of this stuff, this is a labor of love. It's a tremendous documentary, and I can't think of anything or anyone who would have been more appropriate for a hopeful holiday season to sort of, put that out there. Tim, any other thoughts before we cut into the interview with Warren?
Well, it's a controversial subject for sure, ripe for all kinds of conversation. Do understand there's some very difficult images in this film. So I want you to see the film for sure, but there's some difficult images in the film. These tigers have attacked, in some cases, humans. But it's all contextualized and it's very, very meticulously constructed. And Warren's going to talk about that in the interview. But know that when you engage the action.
Indeed. And as we mentioned in the interview, which we did a few days ago, it's, the film is out on VOD now. So you can go check out Tiger 24 on VOD. And in January, we'll be coming to Blu-ray, and we will be talking about it again at that time. So without further ado, here is our interview with Warren Pereira. We are so proud for this holiday podcast to be able to talk to Warren Pereira of Tiger 24, an amazing documentary which is out on VOD on December 6th and will be coming out on MOD, Manufacture on Demand Blu-ray, at the end of January. Tim and I reviewed this film on Film Week, and we're so thrilled that it's coming to VOD so that now more people can see it. It's really an amazing film. Warren, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm really glad to be here and glad you guys like the film.
We love it, and we're going to be championing it around town. We've already done so over at LAFCA and the Critics' Choice Association. We're in there punching for you, brother. It's an extraordinary film that, like so many documentaries, began as a completely different film. This just happens all the time. We find, I think Wade might agree with docs. People go out, they got their camera, going to make a documentary. They know exactly what they're making their documentary about, and boom, different documentary. Something like that happened to you, man. Tell the folks what went down.
Well, the thing is, I was trying to get a narrative film going here in LA, and I couldn't get it going. It's so difficult to get it going because, ideally you need a star attached and all these things. And so I'm from India. My brother was marrying this Punjabi girl, and so there's this elaborate wedding, and I just decided to film it on a 5D, which was this camera at the time. And then I went to a tiger reserve, and I filmed some tigers in central India, and I thought, I'm just going to make a tiger doc. And so I started going around to different tiger reserves, Pench, Ranthambore, Kanha, etc., looking for a subject. But I was told to follow a female with cubs because they show the more behavior, the hunting, the mom and the cubs, and the territory is smaller because finding the animal is the part of the challenge. But then I saw this young male, T24, in May 2012, and that's the shot in the water when he's looking right at me, and I was like, "Who's this guy?" And they were like, well, we think he's killed some people, and he's a male, and he's a dominant male. He's his territory, so don't follow him. And I was like, well, it's my time, my money. Let's just follow him. And so I just thought I was going to follow him with really no good reason. This is really not something I recommend. It's not a good producer mentality just to not know why you're following an animal besides liking him. And then in between my safaris, there was these rumors that he'd kill people. And it turned out that maybe it was true. And then after the alleged fourth killing, he became what he became, a national sensation. High court, Supreme Court, the government versus activists, billboards being erected. And that's when I was like, hey, I'm the only guy with all this professional footage of this animal. And now I have to really do a documentary. I had no idea it would take this long and cost this much, but it's just, I had to do it right and edit and re-edit and get every interview. And that's what it is. That's the story of Tiger 24.
Now, most documentaries today have become kind of the higher tier documentaries, especially at Netflix and have become kind of a factory output. You got your producing staff, and you got your director, and you got somebody else writing it, and they'll bring on an editor at a certain point. Mm. You did this thing as a one-man band. I mean, you are the narrator. You are occasionally on camera talking to people. Mm-hmm. You produced it. You directed it. You wrote the parts of it that are narrated. You, as far as I understand, you're the cameraman through this whole thing, and you cut it. Are you quite okay today?
Well, I mean, it did take a lot out of me. I mean, you should, you know, if you see me, if you look at you can actually document the aging process when you look at me in the film, you know. But you know, some of it was just, I just knew from a money perspective, you know, to get a celebrity VO, you know, or to have someone presenting, or to get a big DP to film it. It would just, I couldn't afford that. But I had a lot of people helping me, just a lot of consultants, and there were a couple camera operators, obviously, for the interviews and the B-roll, and so definitely there's people who helped me and you know, to get it going, and obviously the score and everything. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not going to cut one again, but I'm glad I cut this one, because the craft of editing, which I knew, now I really know, and just, you know, going through making those choices, going through the cut points, etc., and also, you know, it's a very sensitive piece. We're dealing with people's lives here and families that have lost loved ones to this tiger. And so for that other reason, I was very possessive about the footage, about how to present it, knowing what they want in the documentary, what they don't want. You know, as we've talked about, there's some mutilated bodies. So how much of that do we show? How much do we not show? And so for all those reasons, and because I'm a control freak, you know, I did what I had to do, you know.
There's a lot of opinion about the tiger, the government, the people in the park. All this, you as a filmmaker, particularly a documentarian, had to stand aside from that and then figure out how to balance all of these feelings about the tiger and what has happened in the film, which you do very, very nicely. You know, there's what were your actual feelings about the situation? You. Warren, not documentarian director Warren, but you. What were you thinking as you were making this film?
When I heard about the fourth attack and that he'd been removed, the field director of Ranthambore, he let me know, because he felt bad for me, because he knew I was filming this animal. So he felt like, I'm removing your animal mid-production. And I felt upset in the beginning. And I was confused, because all the news said it was this other tiger, Sultan, his son, who had killed this man. But then I was presented with this video, and it looked like T-24. I mean, I identified him. So I felt much like a lot of the activists initially, very upset. But then later on, you know, when I talked to the government and listened to them, and, you know, and I know all these people because I've interviewed them, you know, they're kind of activists with responsibility, right? Because they're running that national park. And so then the logic starts to come in, and you're like, okay, you can't just ideally, like, just like life, you can't get everything you want. It's always some level of a compromise. And so I started to understand, you know, their perspective as well. So, and then also, you know, when you go through this documentary, first you're like, what am I doing here? You know, I just want to get some great shots, and this is going to be great. And it's kind of vain. But then later on, you realize this project's a lot bigger than you, because I was looking at the Wildlife Protection Act of India, and, like, you know, looking at section 12 and 19 and be like, oh, this is something actually meaningful, so I better do this right. And so I felt that sense that I'm doing something important. And then, of course, you know, that goes up and down. You go back to, like, well, I still have to make a great film. It's got to be engaging. And so, yeah, it was all over the place. But of course, I felt bad for the tiger. I feel bad for him now. I mean, I have an update from him from a couple of days ago, and you know, he's not doing great in there. Well, a lot of people watch the movie. There's a new ending which says his latest condition. You know, yeah.
It's. I mean, that's kind of amazing that it's still a film in flux given real life circumstances.
Yeah,
and I mean, this is, you know, you chose a topic with which I think people outside of India are just not at all familiar, which is tiger conservation and how it's organized and how these preserves are structured. And in this one in particular, that very, very tenuous interface between human beings and the preserve, which is, you know, because of the shrine, because of all of these other mitigating factors. It's so interesting. And, you know, for Americans, conservation is like, oh my goodness, somebody was camping in Yosemite and a bear, you know, ate their food. We just, unless you have a mountain lion attack, which we sometimes have here in the area where we live, which is incredibly rare.
Yeah.
It's something that doesn't register, that you have this situation in the modern world where there is this very, very dangerous interface between civilization and nature. Even in Africa, we don't hear those stories. So, I mean, this really touches on something that I think is so fascinating and so misunderstood. And you make it very, very accessible, and so that it doesn't feel like a parochial issue. Was that ever a concern of yours, thinking, how is this going to travel outside of India? And did that factor into the filmmaking?
Maybe later in the edit, but when you're in it, you're just making it because you're in it and you're passionate about it. And I think though, most of us love these large predators and we admire them. But I don't think we understand that they require massive amounts of inviolate territory. And without that territory, they're not going to survive. They're going to go extinct for the next generation. And the problem with that, whether you maybe you don't even care about them, but let's say, you do or you don't, when they go away, their territories go away. So that habitat, that ecosystem, all the biodiversity within there also goes away. All the abilities to fight climate change also goes away. And I think that's why the tiger, because it's a beautiful animal, is a symbol for the health of that forest, and in turn the health for the world. So I think if that message comes across, I think there'll be an ethical value in the movie for people watching it.
Mm. So obviously, even here, as Wade says, just this whole issue of encroachment. But the question is like, who is encroaching on who? It's like, the tiger, I'm just literally at my house, literally at my house. And then these people, so it's just about education. It's about defining what we mean about encroachment. Because I ask myself, could I possibly be eaten by a tiger? And generally speaking, no. I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen. If anybody tells me, there are tigers around here, you don't want to go, hey, nope, thank you. If I see a sign, watch out for tigers, excellent signage. Excellent signage. Right. And so what's up with this in the people? Because I kind of feel like this is really mostly about what people are doing and not what tigers are doing.
Well, what's up with it is if you and I were born in Old City, just outside Ranthambore, right? And that's where we lived. And we don't have, AMC to go watch a movie or whatever it is. Maybe you and I will be playing cricket in our backyard. And our backyard is, half a mile from a tiger reserve. And maybe you and I have goats and we got to feed our goats some good leaves or some good grass. And because it's not that great in the buffer, the non-existent buffer. So we're going to go in and nothing's happened for 100 days, 200 days, 3 years. And then 5 years later, you get killed or I get killed by a tiger. And we look like idiots, but it's a circumstance. It's not like they want to go in and break the law. It's just more that villagers over there who have a much tinier carbon footprint than we'll ever have, they're the ones that are living just outside the critical tiger habitat, and they don't have the money, the resources to be able to sustain themselves without, to a certain degree, breaking the law. And so it's an imperfect situation that we're managing. We're managing wildlife like we pretty much are across the world. And although it's, I'm critical of it, we got to remember that India is doing a better job of tiger conservation than any other country in the world with all these issues. So it should improve, but right now they're still the best in the world.
Excellent points, Warren. Excellent points.
There are some very colorful figures that you interview in here too, and one of them, a certain expert whose name is escaping me, but he has an amazing quote that made me laugh. I watched the film twice and I laughed both times. Where he says something baboos, and he's ridiculing the sort of the bureaucracy that just does not understand all of this. And I want, it seems to me, yes, Tim's right. It's more about what people are doing than what tigers are doing. But on a certain level, it also seems like it's what politicians are doing. And,
yeah. You're talking about Valmik Thapar, right? Yeah. Yes. And so, and actually in the extras, and I think in the Blu-ray extra, his entire interview is there. If you ever want to watch it, I'll get you a copy. So he was amazing. I think the bureaucracy is a problem. He's been trying to get, changes there for years. And it is a big battle between the state government and the central government, because the central government, it was the NTCA, has these demarcations of the core and the buffer, et cetera. And they're ideal. And ideally we'd like to apply them, but the state has to deal with the reality in each tiger reserve. And it's a little bit different, depending on the habitat, the number of villages, etc. And so, yeah, there absolutely is. And then just like any developing nation, India, the people still want buildings and electricity and a growing middle class, and so they're encroaching. And even some of the activists that want these things to be ideal, it's competing against their material desires. So it's a complex situation. It's easy to get on social media and say how you feel, but to actually take all those actions, it's much more difficult. And hopefully the film kind of shows that complexity.
And you had indicated too, I think that a lot of things have transpired. I mean, T24 wound up on the cover of a magazine, on billboards, all while these court cases are proceeding. I mean, this is in a country of over 1 billion people. That's a pretty major thing. So where without sort of giving away anything in the film, where do things stand at the present? Is this still proceeding through the courts? What's happening?
It's no longer in the courts. That drama is over. The tiger is still alive. He's in the zoo and in captivity. They're doing their best they can in a captive environment, but I don't think he's happy there because he's a wild animal. But the zoo government officials are doing their best. And yeah, as far as the activism, largely it's died down. But now that the film's coming out, and I'm potentially doing a theatrical in India in February, I think it's going to reignite the topic. And I definitely want to show it in theaters over there because it's ultimately an Indian story.
The film, you're not getting pushback from any sides, right? It feels like it's being embraced by everybody.
Well, we'll see. I mean, for example, when I put out the poster art and it said Tiger 24, the making of a man-eater, which was this line I came up with because there's a duality to the line, whether he actually was made one, since you guys have seen the film, or he was called one. I did get some activists saying, why did you say man-eater? He's not a man-eater. So there is that emotional side to it, and I don't mind. I think that it's engaging with people, and whatever it takes to get this somewhat academic conservation message through in an entertaining format.
Before we started talking, we kind of got behind the curtain a little bit and talked about Netflix and what they're doing and in this kind of business. Walk us through that a little bit. So you make this film and then you got to get it out there in the world, and obviously Netflix. What happened? Did you find a distributor? How did you get to where we are today?
Yeah, I have a distributor. They're Elevation Pictures. And what I liked about the reason I signed with them is because they liked the film and they gave me what's called final cut rights. A lot of distributors will not give you that because they want to recut the film for TV or something else. And I'm sure that's fine with a lot of filmmakers and films. With me, I'd rather die than have anyone recut my movie. Okay. So that's why I signed with them primarily, and they're a great distributor and they're the ones putting it out. As far as Netflix, they've actually been the most interested. They actually had come by my edit bay years ago when it was like a hot topic, and we're still talking to them. And it might be there potentially on what they call second windows for streaming. But the first window is going to be the VOD and the Blu-ray. As far as international distribution, I have some offers I'm not going to name. But again, it's all these offers with we have to be able to recut it for TV. And I first of all, I don't want to recut it again because I've cut this thing 100 times or more. And secondly, at this point, it's everyone told me 90 minutes is the ideal runtime. It's got to be 90 because I had a longer cut that I thought was great. So I said I made it exactly 90 minutes. And now they're still saying we may need a 60 or a 48 or a 72, and I'm just screw that. I'm not doing that. And I'm certainly not allowing somebody who knows way less about filmmaking or this topic to recut my movie. So I'm kind of holding myself back from international distribution. But if an international distributor comes by and they like the cut the way it is and they're not going to mess with it, beyond obviously language stuff or, commercial breaks or whatever, I just don't want any part of my film removed or reorganized or anything, Yeah.
I can see how that's particularly true with a film like this because you've already had to think about that very, very carefully. As you noted, exactly what you were going to leave in the film? If you already thought about it, you've already thought about it.
I've thought about it completely. I've thought about even the moral side of it because, like I said, these families are trusting me with showing their father mutilated after attack or their son. I've thought about it with the guy who made, did the score, Krang, who's amazing. I've thought about it with every cut point. After I finish a cut, I rewatch the movie like a silent film to see that the cuts are working. Now, is anyone else going to do that when they recut it for TV? I don't think so. Not at this level, and so, I don't think, and I think the film, I'm new enough of a filmmaker and the film's new enough that it's not like you're going to watch this movie and be like, yeah, I like this one sequence in Ghostbusters. So I know it's on TV and I know that it's been cut horribly, but I know I like this section. So I'm going to wait for that. Whereas this one, I think you need to watch everything. I mean, like, you guys know the third attack with the body being pulled out with the Jeeps coming in. I mean, that's like one like long take, and like that should just be playing in real time. And so for me, cinematically and morally, it's important to like leave it the way it is.
Well, Warren, thank you so much for speaking with us today. This has been a privilege. We wish you all the best. We have once again been speaking with Warren Pereira, the producer, writer, director, cinematographer, narrator, editor, one-man band of this incredible documentary, Tiger 24. And, please keep in touch with us and let us know what happens both with the documentary and the Tiger and your career as well. We are really, really pulling for you. It is a crowd, as we were talking before the show, it is a really, really crowded landscape for documentaries, and a lot of people throwing a lot of money at a lot of documentaries, and they just aren't passion projects. What you've done is really something that feels like it comes from the heart and comes from a very personal place. And I think we and others have responded to it, and others will as well. So
thank you.
Deep thanks for that. Anything final on the film that we didn't touch on that people should know?
It's coming out in North America next week, December 6th, the big day, and I hope people enjoy it and watch it, and message me about it. I'll respond.
Awesome.
Thank you, Warren.
Yeah,
thank you, Warren.
Thank you. Thanks to both of you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And there it is. So Tiger 24, check it out on VOD right now. And boy, what a film! I mean, have you watched it again by any chance, Tim?
Yeah, because I wanted to sort of contextualize it with some of the other films that we're looking at, and it's right there at the top of my list of films that we'll be talking about that I'll be pushing. Yeah,
same here. Same here. Well, let's start off with some of our boxed set stuff. We got some really great TV box sets and some real biggies. First up, the complete Blu-ray of The $6 Million Man. I mean, come on, give some love for Steve Austin there, Tim. I mean, I assume we both watched that show like religiously in the early days.
And of course, it's spin off the extraordinary Lindsay Wagner and the Bionic Woman, but the $6 Million Man, absolutely. Today, I think all that business would be about $6 billion. It's amazing how much money $6 million seemed like in 1970, 73.
And they've been trying to do the Mark Wahlberg $6 billion Man movie for the longest time. I mean, that's well over a decade. I don't. It's like, I mean, what's this is a no-brainer, man. Just do it.
The cost keeps going on. This was just really a groundbreaking show at the time. And what's fun is watching it today, when you realize mostly the way they pulled this off was they cranked up the speed, they slowed him down, slow-mo. And then they added that very particular special effect that we know whenever he would do something bionic, that
the sound effect, that thing. Yeah.
And the combination of that sound effect and just cranking the camera up to 120 frames per second so that he's moving slower, that was it, baby. That's all you needed to sell any given moment in that show when he would be throwing some styrofoam refrigerator across. I think it's all you needed. Today, that would cost. They'd use some kind of special effect. They'd use some kind of computer generated special effect, and you wouldn't believe it. and they do some sort of stupid explosion, and no, not in a million years.
Well, this is loaded with extras. It is absolutely great. They did a wonderful job on the Blu-ray restoration. They include the original 3 pilot films in their original broadcast and syndication versions. Now, I just want to say I didn't realize there were 3 original films. I always thought there was just the one, which didn't have all those effects, by the way. And it had Martin Balsam playing Rudy, So there were all kinds of so it adds that, and it's got the reunion films. Which are absolutely terrific. Audio commentaries, the original DVD, new audio commentaries as well as the original DVD audio commentaries. I mean, it's got all the crossover Bionic Woman stuff. If you're worried the Bigfoot and the Fembot episodes might just no. The Bionic Woman episodes that you need the crossover stuff so that you complete all of that, and John Houseman and his Fembots. I love that when they would knock the face off the Fembot.
It's got to be like 10 of those or so.
So good.
And of course, Farrah Fawcett shows up in 4 or 5 episodes of the $6 Million Man, and if particularly when you're watching it, if you watching TV as long as we have, there are all kinds of really great folks that pop up. Stephanie Powers shows up in an episode or two.
The Bigfoot stuff, Stephanie Powers.
The Bigfoot stuff is always John DeLance said he would play. He would go on to play Q in the next gen for years. Right. He's in a couple of all kinds of people like that. I have a lot of fun watching shows like that and just looking at the screen and seeing, Carl Weathers.
So good.
Carl Weathers. An episode of the Bionic Man is fantastic.
And I love the whole. There was another Bionic Man, the race car driver guy who got 2 bionic arms. And I remember that great episode where he and Steve are having having the arm wrestling, and they shatter the table, and he beats Steve Austin. You're like, whoa! They gave him better arms. It was great. What a great show. Yeah. Great show. The Mars Explorer thing that comes back down. Oh, that's so many great episodes. We also have, you can get the complete Alfred Hitchcock Presents now, finally, all 5 seasons. And this has been a little bit tricky over the years. They've released some seasons and then not others. And anyway, it's all out there finally from Universal, the complete 5-season set. And it's not on Blu-ray, it's on DVD, but it's fair enough. It's probably the best you're going to get for a while. Really, probably, I would say, obviously Twilight Zone is the all-time top anthology series, but, as to what comes in at number 2, I don't know. There's The Outer Limits. There's Alfred Hitchcock Presents. I think it's in the running for number 2.
Oh, yeah, Night Gallery. And frankly, it precedes all of them because this was like the late 50s, right? 55 to the early 60s. I
think Twilight Zone was first and Hitchcock Presents came after, but I could be wrong on that. I'd have to double check the date.
Interesting. Yeah, but it's right up there.
We also have the complete series of Charmed, the new Charmed.
the new Charmed, which is a series that, look, me, I'm ridiculous about all of that old Charmed and all of it, and I've been ridiculous about this one too. I just love the show. These
4 seasons.
4 seasons. It did real good. I thought it was well done. It lives right in the exact same space as the original series from the 90s. With our sisters, the charmed ones, and all the mystical, magical, dingbatty stuff in their love lives, and running around and all kind of stuff. With a little bit better special effects, and I thoroughly enjoyed Charmed. Anything good?
No, just some behind the scenes stuff. Yeah. It's fair enough. Yeah. We also have, so it gets very interesting here now with the Arrowverse. I have a little bit of a bone to pick. So if I'm an Arrowverse fan, I want all these things to live on my shelf in the same space, right? I want my complete Arrow set next to my complete Supergirl set, next to my complete Legends of Tomorrow set, next to eventually the complete Flash set, which they really need to start wrapping up soon. But the box set for the complete Supergirl and the box set for the complete Legends of Tomorrow, they're totally different shapes and sizes. I mean, same shape, but different sizes. Like, I'm going to show you on the camera here. Can you see this? Look.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
How do you make Supergirl taller than Legends? Now this is... It's like weird. And Supergirl is in a single case, right? It's a single keep case, a multi-disc case, the complete series. Whereas Legends, they're all individual Blu-ray cases. So I don't know what's going on there from a packaging standpoint. But they need to work that out. That's just not cool. That said, how do we Legends Tomorrow just went on way too long, and we've talked about this before. Had way too many characters coming in and out. That revolving door. It's like, how many, I can't get attached to anybody because like now Hawkman is gone and Adam guy came in and then he's gone and then somebody else. I can't keep track of them.
Yeah, that was just, the actual guy, the Wave Rider, the captain of the Wave, whatever his name was. He was. Yeah. I'm like, well, how do you get rid of the actual guy of the show? And it's all fine, but it was just too much. Hell, man, I think I was casting that show for a season or two.
Yeah.
It was really, really that wacky. Fun sometimes. I did watch the last season or two, with them running around on Earth in the 20s.
I did too. And my first thought was, is there anybody here who was on the show when it first started?
I think Sarah is the only one.
The only one, yeah, for sure. And to just show you how much they care about all the characters that were on the show, what character do they choose for to put on the actual
What the hell is that?
It's like some furry monster looking thing from I don't even know what episode. I don't even know. But like to me that's just spitting in the face of all your actors saying, you know what? We don't really think any of you are worth putting on the cover. So we're going to put that thing on the cover. Anyway. No, it's otherwise good box sets, hours and hours and hours of featurettes and gag reels and various things. I mean, not my favorite Arrowverse show, but it certainly had its moments. Supergirl was much more my speed. I in fact, even when I was very skeptical about getting rid of the miniskirt, I was cool with the way they redesigned the costume. I really was.
Okay. It was okay. Hey, look, Melissa Benoist, just the best Supergirl, probably the only Supergirl, relatively speaking, since Helen Slater, exactly, who was exquisite, and of course Helen's in this show playing her mom, which was also pretty damn great. This show went through some cast changes as well. Obviously not Supergirl, but different fellows coming and going and stuff like that. Managed to pull it off just fine. Maintain that single dynamic. Supergirl, her big sister, John Jones, and
the John John stuff, the Manhunter from Mars, I thought was the greatest introduction. When that was revealed, I was like, all right, now you got me. Now I'm in totally. Yep, good show, and it also includes, just so everybody knows, the 5-episode arc of Crisis on Infinite Earths, which wraps over to Arrow and Flash and Black Lightning, and it wraps through all of those shows, and Batwoman. That whole arc is on here. So again, like with the $6 Million Man, those crossovers, don't worry about it. It's all here. It's all on board. Yep. Also got the complete Frasier, which is quite a thing. That is 11 seasons, which I think is more than Cheers, which is kind of amazing for a Cheers spinoff. But you know what? They're bringing Frasier back, so maybe it's a good time to catch up on this if you want to binge all 11 seasons. It's going to take you a minute. 33 discs. My goodness.
Hell of a spinoff. You know,
it was a good show. They only have a couple of commentaries here. But otherwise, there are a lot of really interesting stuff. Good, interviews and behind the scenes stuff. Really gives you a great sense of how the show was put together and how sitcoms put together generally. So it's a really, really nice set. Great gift for somebody who, can't get enough of their Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah.
Let's see and then we've also got, let me go grab some of the movie box sets, because I think that's where, that's some really good stuff there. We've got, the Universal Classic Monsters collection on 4K.
Well, that's great, but as soon as you can, just get to that Sonny Chiba situation.
Yeah, let me go grab the Sonny Chiba.
But we'll start with the Universal.
While I'm grabbing it, talk about Sonny Chiba and why Sonny Chiba is so meaningful.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking about, man, come on now. let's get to the Sonny Chiba set. First of all, Sonny has had a really, really long career with Sonny Chiba. Sonny Chiba's in Kill Bill movies, man. And Sonny, I think he just passed in maybe during COVID. He's the exact same age as my dad, born in 1939. Yeah, died in 1920 in 2021. Very recently here, and Sonny is just a legend in martial arts, and I can't wait to see which movies, how far we're going to go back in that set. Hopefully, to some of those fantastic Yakuza films, or films like The Soul of Sonny Chiba. I hope that's in there.
So here's what we got. Here's what we got on the Sonny Chiba set. My goodness, it's tremendous. Yes, Yakuza Wolf 2. We've got the Bodyguard films. We've got Shogun's Shadow, Samurai Reincarnation. I mean, it's a pretty great set. It's a pretty great set. Sonny,
does it touch pretty much every decade, or at least the 60s? I think Sonny started in the late 50s, but
this is mainly decade? It's 70s mainly, 70s, and then dips into the 80s.
70s and 80s. Okay.
So 70s and 80s. So I mean, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 films total, and it's pretty fantastic. I mean, you're not getting the complete career, but you're getting a wonderful, wonderful collection of some of his very, very best stuff, including, again, the Samurai and the Yakuza stuff, which a lot of people stateside haven't seen. And this is from the Shout Select series. It's volume 141. So if you're being a completist, you're definitely going to want to jump into this. But yeah, I mean, Sonny Chiba is known, I think, to a certain generation just because Tarantino resurrected his career in the Kill Bill films, right?
Yeah.
And which he also did with Gordon Liu and he David Carradine. He kind of went and threw a bunch of icons into those films, or to put them on the radar. And now you kind of owe it to Quentin to go back and rediscover. So yeah, Sonny Chiba collection's pretty great.
Fantastic.
But yeah, the 4K of the Universal Classic Monsters, wonderful box set. The Mummy, Bride of Frankenstein, Phantom of the Opera, Creature from the Black Lagoon. To add these to your other one, your previous 4K set that obviously had Frankenstein and Dracula in it. Yeah, I mean, these are all great.
Creature from the Black Lagoon, often forgotten. Amongst those,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Phantom of the Opera kind of sometimes gets tossed alongside too. So
yeah.
I'm glad that's in here. But yeah, Bride of Frankenstein. It's funny. She's hard. They're for a movie called The Bride of Frankenstein. She's kind of hardly in it, but yet she's the most dominating thing about it with that scream and the whole deal.
Yeah.
Didn't she die recently too?
Did she? Oh man.
I think I want to. Yeah, maybe I'm. Anyway, great stuff. And then working our way down here to the two biggies, we've also got the complete deluxe editions of all the Friday the 13th films. There's something you want for Christmas. This is a DVD boxed set, so it's. I mean, obviously not the greatest thing for the holidays, but somebody out there is going to be really, really happy to get the complete Friday the 13th. The deluxe editions in their stocking, if you can fit it. Not my favorite films, but I mean, it's always a Halloween knockoff, but somehow it evolved a personality all of its own. So one of the great special features, commentaries and behind the scenes featurettes and all that stuff. If you want to see every conceivable way that somebody can have their head cut off and prosthetic effects, it's all on here. So here are the two biggies now, Tim. We have volume 3 of the Columbia Classics 4K Ultra HD collection, which has been really kind of interesting so far. The films that they've been choosing, and it's coming in the same packaging that the others have come in. That wonderful kind of butterfly custom case with the booklet and the beautiful full color booklet that slides in the sleeve behind it.
It is gorgeous.
And once again, it's a case of, okay, how are you picking these films? And I can look at this and I go, okay, yeah, totally got it. But what? There's always one on here. And I kind of get it. They start with It Happened One Night, which is great. That's a Columbia classic. That was the first film to win all top 5 awards, right? Picture, director, screenplay, actor, actress. Okay. From Here to Eternity. Great. I get it. Another Best Picture winner. To Sir with Love, Sidney Poitier. Great. Awesome film. The Last Picture Show, great. Bogdanovich, I get it. That's another proud one. and as good as it gets. A little more recent, fair enough. You know, Jack Nicholson at one screenplay. I mean, that's a good, solid Columbia film from the recent period. And then Annie. Now, no offense to Annie. Annie's a fine film. You know, I think Carol Burnett's wonderful in it. John Huston isn't really the ideal director for it, but it's fine. It's okay. But I mean, there are a lot of great Columbia. I mean, why not Funny Girl? Why Annie and not Funny Girl? I don't understand. Thoughts about Annie?
Yeah, well, you know, I don't know. Yeah, that's a strange one in the context of the rest of the movies we just talked about.
Yes,
it happened like Last Picture Show, Annie. No, I don't think so. As good as it gets, sure. More recent, but Last Picture Show, Annie, no, not that one. Not in that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Very odd. Anyway, wonderful 4K transfers across the board, however, in every case, and gobs and gobs and gobs of wonderful extras. It's
crazy price range I see this thing for. I just happen to be looking at it. I see it retailed in a couple of places, trade posted in a couple of places, $163. But diddling around Amazon, 75, 80, 85 bucks. So that's
which is about what it's. Yeah, and that's what you want to pay for it. I mean, especially if it's a gift. Now, the next set here, which I'm very fond of, but I do have one gripe about it. The next one is the Sony Pictures Classics 30-year anniversary set, which comes in this beautiful custom butterfly cube. It kind of butterflies open. It's wonderful. Things are not in sleeves like they are in the other set. They're in actual proper Blu-ray keep cases. All of them 4K, fantastic transfers across the board. A great set of films. I will read them and then I will give you my bone to pick. Orlando, The Celluloid Closet, City of Lost Children, SLC Punk, Run Lola Run, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, The Devil's Backbone, Voltaire, the Almodovar film, Synecdoche, New York, Charlie Kaufman, right? Still Alice, and Call Me By Your Name, which of course won Best Screenplay a few years ago. Very recent. Here's the problem that I have with this. Unlike the Columbia Classics set, there's no digital locker stuff here. There's no Movies Anywhere. There's no Voodoo Movies Anywhere code for any of these. None. So you're basically paying straight up for the discs. And I don't understand why they would do that, because Sony is a signatory to the Movies Anywhere consortium, which means that their movies come out with codes that you can use to add them to your Vudu and your iTunes and your Movies Anywhere accounts. Nothing here.
Yeah.
So I don't get.
You got to pull this off the shelf if you want to.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a little bit annoying to me. It might sound spoiled, but it's something that Sony's been doing routinely, and they didn't do it here, and I don't quite get why. It's very strange that they would do that.
There's that lovely book that comes with it too, with all the.
Yes, it does have a nice book.
Yeah,
it does have a nice book.
Yeah, no, I get you though. That's irritating.
Yeah. And then let's dip into the rest of the 4K. We got some TV 4K and then some movies 4K. The TV 4K, Westworld, season 4, The Choice. Our buddy Sherm was on. Was it the first season?
I think season 1. Sherman was on. Season 1. Sherman. Did you stick with it? What are we in season? What now? 4.
This is season 4. I mean, 4. I think it's stretching a little bit. I know a lot of people really love the show, and it just got canceled, and it won't be back. So, but I don't know. I felt like you can only kind of get so much out of that premise, and 4 seasons feels like the limit.
Yeah, look, I was probably end of season 2. I was deeply satisfied with
and that's as far as I watched it.
Is with the way things had sort of sold themselves out, particularly if we're talking about a Michael Crichton novel from the 70s that was originally that I think it was Richard
Yul Brynner.
Yul Brynner was the guy, cowboy, and TV movie. I think that was. Did Michael direct? I think Michael directed that.
I think he directed it. There was also Future World.
Oh yes, I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, there was Future World. There was Westworld, and then there's Future World. So
I mean, this is material that they've really stretched out from its sort of like source
Very
stuff,
true.
that original novel. I mean, they've really milked it, and a lot of interesting stuff going on, and it was really never that highbrow. I mean, this is all far and away more highbrow than the quasi pulp that Michael was writing back in the day. Those movies. So, but they figured it out and they pulled it off, and it's probably good that it's wrapping itself up.
And Jack Ryan, season 1 and season 2 on 4K.
Never bought him as Jack Ryan for 1 second. I just never did. Did you?
Yeah, thank you for saying no, not at all. I mean, but I didn't buy Ben Affleck as Jack Ryan either.
Jack Ryan either. No.
And I remember when you told me. when you saw the film before I did, and I said, "How's Ben as Jack Ryan?" You said he doesn't run right. Do you remember this? You remember telling me this?
Yeah.
You said he doesn't run right. He runs like he's running to catch a bus. Those were your exact words. And I fell asleep laughing that night. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, what a great turn of the phrase. He's running like he's running to catch a bus. Ben needs to work on his running style. But I mean, this is Krasinski trying to, he's really, I mean, I give him credit for trying to stretch, but I still look at him. He's still the guy from The Office.
Yeah, and he's and even in this series, he's kind of funny, and I think about Alec, who was it? Alec Baldwin, that first guy. He was the first one, right? The first Jack
Alec
Ryan was
the first, yeah, and then they went to Harrison Ford, who kind of
Harrison. And Harrison saw it, but I always bought Alec in that first one. That was all. And then
Hunt for Red October.
I was okay. It did not bother me that sort of when it became Harrison Ford, and then he did his whole run there. But since then, I'm like, you know what? These guys are not, and I like John. He's a good director and all of that, but he will always, he'll just be that guy from The Office. He's just that guy from The Office, and I do not buy him saving my world. That guy is not going to save my world. That's okay. I'll do it. So anyway, but no knock against him. I just haven't bought it. That's all.
Yeah. Well, the show, independent of him, I think is a very well put together show. I think it's solid. Yeah. One other TV series before we move on. This is not 4K, but it's the complete series. The complete series of that 70s show.
Oh yeah.
Which they're also doing like a weird reunion thing for. So like Frasier, everything's coming back. So catch up, I guess. Yeah. Funny when you look at this and you're like, holy cow, I didn't realize all those people started on that show. Like I truly forgot, I had forgotten, I mean, just how many careers began on that show. And
it was one of the ones that, hey, look,
Topher Grace. I always forget Topher started on that show.
Topher. Look, right here in LA, the Danny Masterson trial.
Yeah, exactly.
Might have gone to the jury by now or something like that. Danny, one of the kids on the show.
I think it's a hung jury. I think it went to a hung jury.
Was it a hung jury?
So so they may retry
the difference. And I think Kurtwood died. If I'm not, Kurtwood played the dad.
Did. Yeah,
I think we lost Kurtwood because I could do that without.
We did, and I always remember him most from RoboCop and Dead Poets Society. Two very different roles.
Yeah, the dad and the sociopath.
That's right. Time Life has some great box sets as well. Some concert music performance stuff. Amazing Grace, country stars sing songs of faith and hope is a very, very nice set. Austin City Limits Country, if you're a fan of that show, that's 2 volumes. And then we also have Russell Simmons' Def Comedy Jam All Stars. 2 volumes. So these are great Time Life box sets for people who want, plenty of country, plenty of music. Time Life comes out with great box sets around the holiday time. This is the 3 that they have available right now. Also highly recommended. Nobody will be disappointed.
Yeah. The Def Comedy being a part of that Time Life set strikes me as funny. But then,
well,
okay,
I mean,
whatever.
That was, Russell Simmons did a hell of a thing by becoming kind of the godfather of that particular moment. I mean, Def Comedy Jam was it's a great concept. And there was a moment when everybody was doing these kind of like, Night at the Improv and the, all these various shows were on TV that were kind of trying to get a little mileage out of aggregating comics. And you had a lot of top tier comics that would show up, do like a 10-minute set. and move on to the next person. And then they started marketing that stuff, early days DVD. But Russell Simmons was the one who really kind of figured out how to make that format work.
Yeah,
that aggregated format.
And who Kevin Hart, D.L. Hughley. I mean, a lot of younger comics to you and me. We're from Pryor and Carlin and Dick Gregory and all of that kind of. But these younger cats that are significant now came out of that Def Comedy Jam set.
Yep, very true. Let's get to some 4K movies. This is an unbelievable season for 4K movies. We've got Steelbooks. One of them you got to go to Best Buy to get. But the Tarantino Steelbook scene is on fire. So one from Lionsgate, one from Paramount, but they're both Steelbooks and they're both Tarantino and they're both 4K and they're amazing. So from Paramount, we got Pulp Fiction on 4K, which is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Loaded with extras, cast interviews and the Charlie Rose interview with Tarantino, all the Cannes Film Festival stuff, which I was there that year. I mean, I remember this. I remember the press conference. I remember, Tarantino collecting his Palme d'Or and the woman screaming the injustices from the rafters in theater and then him flipping the bird. It was so unprofessional and yet so memorable. It's all on here. And then Reservoir Dogs as a Best Buy exclusive from Lionsgate. Nice 4K Steelbook set. Go get it on. I mean, Tarantino was this. I mean, Reservoir Dogs. These are my Tarantino experiences at Cannes because 92 and 94. And in 92, I remember sitting on the beach talking to Quentin for an hour. And he was a nobody and I was a nobody. And we're just hanging out on the beach and talking about old movies and Reservoir Dogs and Hong Kong movies. And it was a good time. And then 2 years later, he comes back and he wins the Palme d'Or. And man, I was like, I gotta step up my game. It's just not working. Fantastic. But anyway, really wonderful, wonderful Steelbooks and a lot of great extras on both of them. But really, the lion's share of the extras are on the Pulp Fiction set. That one just absolutely kills it. Tim, come on.
John Travolta in that white suit, baby. Oh. Looking fantastic.
45 years, man. Saturday Night Fever, 45 years.
Yeah. Makes me dizzy.
That's unbelievable.
The music still holds up. John is still holding up.
The movie still holds up.
The movie still holds up. And you know why? Well, for one thing, a lot of music in that movie, it was, very popular and very pop and all that kind of thing. But the movie is really quite the serious drama.
It is.
A lot of people forget that Saturday Night Fever is a drama.
Yeah,
it's very powerful and deeply moving.
It really is
emotional film. But we think about that dance and he's on that cover with that suit. Night Fever.
I know
that movie's a drama, man, and it's real heavy.
It's got some very heavy scenes in it. Donna Pascal is tremendous in this movie. I mean, really tremendous. And we forget, Fran Drescher, her career begins in this movie with a cameo.
Yeah,
she has one line. Are you as good and bad as you are on the dance floor? That's her line. She has she has the whiny New York accent, and next thing you know, people are putting her in things, and she's a star. I mean, just that one moment. It was like Bronson Pinchot in Beverly Hills Cop, right? You just come on and you steal a moment from a movie star and you're made.
The next thing.
Anyway, 4K Saturday Night Fever is to die for. Not just because of how good it looks, but because of how good it sounds. How good it sounds on a great system. If you're a Bee Gees fan, if you love this movie like I love this movie, you're just gonna go nuts. It's never sounded this good in a house outside of a movie theater.
Go dig around in the archives here and find our interview. Actually, wait, and just tell you what episode it is. And find our interview
with John Badham.
Yeah, John. Add that to the mix there.
That was great. That was just a good time sitting down with John Badham and talking to him. Got a couple other Steelbooks here for animation from the terrific people at Leica. The Steelbook 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays of Coraline and Paranorman. Looking good, sounding really good. Paranorman, I'm not quite as fond of, but Coraline, I think, still totally holds up. I think it's absolutely wonderful. But either way, tons of special features here, as you expect from animated films, character concept, art, interviews, audio commentaries, with the directors and on and on and on and on. Henry Selick, especially talking about Coraline, is pretty great. If you haven't heard that commentary before, deleted scenes, storyboards, the whole thing. So wonderful in Steelbooks. Go get some, and it's a great education, especially for kids who might want to learn more about animation and stop motion animation and all that.
Oh,
stuff.
cool! Yeah,
pretty great.
Yeah,
Tim, you're a big Adaptation fan. I am less so, but that's on 4K now.
Yeah. From the Susan Orlean book. And I look, I'm a big Charlie Kaufman fan, and this was one of those moments in Nick Cage's career where, again, he had been off doing a bunch of wacky, you need to make a buck Nick Cage movies, and then suddenly he's in this film playing himself and his brother in this Charlie Kaufman film, and it all kind of goes crazy in Spike Jonze, and it sort of reminded us that, wow, Nick Cage is an amazing actor. Even and we had another run of these sort of wacky Nick Cage movies, but every now and again Nick would come back to one, and this was one, and I happen to like the movie a lot too.
Yeah, and it's a good looking 4K. It's not my favorite movie, but it doesn't have to be. Tim loves it, and I'm going to roll with that. You got some respectable extras on here, but for the most part, look, Movies Anywhere code. Adaptation, Charlie Kaufman. Add this with Synecdoche, New York, that's on that Sony set, which does not have the Movies Anywhere code, but you're good to go. We also got a couple from, excuse me, Scream Factory, Shout Factory, Scream Factory. A couple of great 4K sets here, collector's editions, both. The Company of Wolves and Carrie, the original.
Oh, wow.
And the Company of Wolves, I always forget about, but that's a good, solid little film, a good Neil Jordan gem there. I don't know what's happening, to Neil Jordan in recent years. He's kind of disappeared, gone off grid. But Angela Lansbury is terrific in this. It's, for those who don't know, this is kind of a it's a
sort of true adaptation of the actual.
Yeah, it's like bringing it's like a Little Red Riding Hood. It's like werewolves and Little Red Riding Hood. It's kind of what it does. But anyway, it's a good solid little gem from 1984. And then of course it's got there's some fascinating extras on it. The Neil Jordan commentary is absolutely excellent. It's just really one of his very, very best. And then you got Carrie. Which is one of Brian De Palma's very, very best. Loaded with extras. Now, nearly all the extras here are on the Blu-ray, so you can't watch the 4K and get any of the goodies, but you get all of them on the Blu-ray, and it's loaded with them, and they're terrific. There's especially I want to see the interview.
They should
have
never remade that. They should have never remade that.
Never remade it.
They remade that. They should have never.
I know.
This is quintessence. This is the Carrie.
The interview with
other than the book.
The interview with composer Pino Donaggio is really, really interesting, and then of course you get interviews with Brian De Palma and casting director and everybody else. It's pretty great, good stuff. It's really, really good stuff. So 4K of Carrie is to be coveted. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is technically a Thanksgiving movie, but I think it's good for any holiday. That's out in 4K. That's been out. They release this thing every year for Thanksgiving, and they finally put it on 4K. And doesn't have a ton of extras on it. It's just kind of got the Lost Luggage Blu-ray, which has some deleted scenes, extended scene stuff, which is not great. But you know what? I mean, you might think, well, do I really need to Steve Martin and John Candy, shtick it up in 4K? Yeah, you kind of do. I think you do. I think you really do, because it's a great movie. I love this movie. I love the pairing. I love the two of them. I think they're hilarious.
They're fantastic. And, John Hughes and. It's just, and that's another fun one where you look around that movie, you're watching it now, and you look at that movie, you're like, I forgot he was in that movie.
Yeah, I know.
In that movie, Kevin Bacon's in that movie. Yeah, a couple of people.
Did you see the film Smile, either the original short or the feature? The horror.
No, that's the horror movie that everybody's been talking about.
Yeah, that everybody's kind of going a little bit freaky over. So I never saw the short or the feature. Watched them both. They're pretty creepy. Pretty creepy. I mean, it really is.
Parker Finn.
the smile of the box cover, is in fact a creepy smile, and they did a good job. But yeah, watching the short and the feature is really interesting. Parker Finn got a lot of talent, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if I needed this in 4K, but it's out there, and I like the tagline too. Once you see it, it's too late. Ooh,
Nice,
creepy.
Nice, yeah.
And then we got a couple of new movies, both of them theoretically awards contenders that are out on 4K as well. The Woman King and Don't Worry, Darling. I have rather strong opinions about both. Tim, you first.
Don't Worry, Darling. I appreciate it. Unfortunately, it came associated with all that sort of ding battery.
Yeah,
connected to the stars and the director and
the drama kind of at Venice and all that nonsense,
and all of that. It's just at the end of the day, as much as I appreciate it, it's particularly style and production design and all that kind of stuff. A couple of performances. It's really just Valley of the Dolls.
I hadn't thought of that. That's really a great.
I saw this movie back in the 70s when it was called that. The Woman King, I appreciate. It came with a bit of a controversy too, having to do with whether or not this tribe and who did what and all kinds.
Oh, the usual. Is this the real history stuff?
Stuff which I just sort of discounted and ignored and sort of forgot about and more. Gina, of course, you're what?
I was at UCLA. She was a grad student. She was with Alexander Payne in the same class.
I was
an undergrad.
Class.
Yeah,
just fantastic work on her part, and I'm really, really happy about her. I appreciated the movie quite a lot. Could have been. It's no Black Panther. It's no Wakanda. But then again, it doesn't have that scale either.
Here's what I'm really happy about. Gina has had she has not had the same career that Alexander Payne had. And a lot of us always felt like she should have, because they were the two, right? They were the two stars of that program. And I remember everybody was, Alexander's thesis film, his graduating thesis film was, The Passion of Martin was like a big deal. But Gina was a big deal too. And Love and Basketball, I always thought, there it is. Now she's on. And somehow that didn't produce for her the same way that, for example, what was it?
Election? Was it Election?
It was not Election. It's the one before Election with
before Election. Yeah,
the abortion thing. With
Laura Dern.
Laura Dern. Yeah, that was the one that kind of produced for him and got him Election. And I thought Love and Basketball was a far superior entry film. But you know what? Suddenly Gina's off the grid. She's doing like TV movies and cable things and not really on the track. And suddenly now The Woman King comes along and opens at number 1, and it's in the awards mix. And I think finally she's kind of come around, right? So I feel like justice has been served, and she now finally has the career and the attention that she's always warranted. And that makes me happy. Based on true events. Well, we've talked about that before. I mean, you can stretch that until it pops. It's Citizen Ruth. That's it. Yeah. But despite Viola Davis, I think there are some other performers and John Boyega. I think some of the other supporting performances, like Lashana Lynch, I thought was superb in this thing. Yeah. Just superb. So there's some really, pay attention not just to the names above the title, but to some of the supporting the supporting roles as well. Viola must have worked out like crazy to get rid of this.
Oh wow, that was nuts and important because you had to buy it. One of the things that I like about this movie was that this wasn't about a bunch of women like in the the Wonder Woman films, these Amazon women, and they're mystical, magical, and they can do all these sort of things. No, these were people who could get killed and just had to be strong and more capable. And clever in order to engage men in combat and win. And that's what's going on in the film. So no magical whips or anything like that. We didn't talk about that whole situation with Wonder Woman. We were going to.
Oh yeah, we were going to. Let's throw that in right now. Speaking of Amazons, we'll sidetrack into that for a second. Yeah, Wonder Woman 3 not moving ahead.
Literally on the day. Boom.
That whole new DC regime is being very, very serious. So James Gunn not messing around.
And basically, if I understand it correctly, I was just looking at Deadline. Patty Jenkins was supposed to turn in a script.
Yeah.
She turned in a treatment, not a script.
You know why?
Yeah. Tell me. I mean, no.
Because well, I'll tell you right. I mean, it's speculation on my part, but I'll tell you why. Because she wasn't going to waste time on a script if it wasn't going to move ahead. And I think she saw the writing on the wall.
Oh, and said, why should I? Yeah. After all the and then Gail had apparently just tweeted something yesterday or whatever about the sequel, something positive, something anticipatory of the sequel, and then they basically just said nah and stabbed that all out instantly.
Yeah,
which doesn't necessarily mean anything to do with her. She's fantastic. And I think that if there is a Wonder Woman, it will be her.
Yeah.
Unless they do something wacky, but there just may not be one. And, issues around, there have been issues over there for a minute, man. Henry Cavill, isn't he going to be Superman? Who the fuck is Batman?
Yeah.
All of that is just been.
They'll sort it out. They'll shake it out.
Yeah.
And then a couple of late arrivals on the 4K front. An absolutely wonderful 4K 60th anniversary. Can't believe it's 60th anniversary 4K release of To Kill a Mockingbird, which from Universal, which is just absolutely gorgeous and makes you just revere that story and Gregory Peck all over again. Robert Mulligan just doing a wonderful, wonderful job there. You know what? I'd always forgotten too that Alan Pakula produced that.
Oh yeah.
Alan J. Pakula, yeah. I always forget that Pakula was a producing power already in the 1960s before we even get a decade later into All the President's Men. He's in such a horrible way that he died. And then the classic Christmas specials collection is out on 4K at long last, so you can get Santa Claus is Coming to Town and Rudolph and Frosty the Snowman and they finally have now released that. All that great Rankin Bass stuff in 4K. So you'll start to see some details that you might not want to see, like hair in the gate and fingerprints on the snow and that stuff that they probably didn't expect, but it's still an awful lot of fun and looks better. And we just lost Arthur Rankin Jr., didn't we?
Yeah. Yep.
We lost Jules Bass a long time ago, but Arthur Rankin, the last piece of Rankin Bass, just recently passed as well. So, yeah, they're all going away. But you know what? Their work lives forever.
Legacies.
Lives forever. I'm going to roll through some other TV that we got here just so that we can move on with the show. Just so that these are all box sets that are out recently and make great gifts. Better Call Saul Season 6. Which has uncensored special features on it, so much so that they want to brag about that. Animal Kingdom, the 6th and final season of the Americanized show based on the Australian movie. That's run for 6 really, really successful seasons. You can get that on DVD now. Season 1 from Showtime of the really awesome Jeff Daniels and Maura Tierney show, American Rust. Really, really like HBO level stuff. This is a really, really terrific new show. So on Blu-ray, you got season 1 of that. Young Rock is in season 2. I don't know. I seriously don't know how.
People love that show. I don't get it. People love that show.
But where does Dwayne Johnson find time to do any of this stuff?
Yeah, because he pops up in that show all the time.
I know. I mean, truly, there was a Super Bowl commercial about how busy his life is from about 4 or 5 years ago. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Where he's talking on the cell phone, doing 4 things at once. Then he gets on a plane and he's doing 5 other things, and it was funny. But I look at this, I'm like, how did you Black Adam and this and everything else that you're doing? And meanwhile, my daughter is taking a sick day from school and watching Moana, in which he is singing. Where did he learn how to sing? How does... You know what I'm saying? You got to learn. You got to take lessons.
Some people just got it, man. They just got it. They have the focus and the direction. It's interesting. As long as we've been in this town watching folks, it really has. Watching entire careers happen. In other words, we precede. Even The Rock, frankly.
Yeah.
Back when we precede him. And then there's The Rock, and then The Rock becomes Dwayne Johnson. And then it's like, wow.
And then he's still, and to maintain that body, the dude still has to put in some gym hours every day.
Yeah.
So come on. Any tweets? How do you find the time? Anyway, Why Women Kill, the complete series. Not one of my favorites, but it's on Blu-ray, and that's out there as well. The Offer on Blu-ray and DVD. Let's talk just for a second. Did you watch The Offer? The Paramount Plus series on the making of The Godfather?
Yeah, and I thought it was a lot of fun and very interesting, and in some ways, highly illuminating. I preferred that because it was sort of like walking this line of trying to tell this sort of quasi-true story in a quasi-true way, as opposed to that Showtime series that they're doing over there, for the Lakers, which just said, we're just going to do whatever we want. Yeah, I preferred this.
I did too.
Because this is interesting to me.
As much as I liked watching, the Lakers Showtime series, not on Showtime, but as much as I enjoyed it, I lived through all that, and I know that was a bunch of bunk.
Yeah.
I mean, everything that Magic and Kareem have been saying that never happened. They're right, never happened.
Yeah, and I had to blah. But this and I love Matthew Good as Robert Evans, as young Robert Evans. He was really, really, really good. And just these, what's it kid? I think his name's Justin something or other. He's playing young Brando, or not young Brando, but Brando. And everybody really was just killing it, man.
It's good. I agree. I agree. And speaking of Matthew Good, A Discovery of Witches, the complete trilogy on Blu-ray, which includes a collectible bookmark, which is hilarious. The whole thing's done kind of as a book motif. Anyway, Discovery of Witches, not something that was on my radar originally, but
I enjoyed it. I had fun with it.
It's pretty good. I mean, ran for 3 seasons, 25 episodes, and Matthew Good is great in it. On the DC end, we also have The Peacemaker from HBO Max, the complete first season, which is James Gunn's sort of attempt to do some TV stuff right up based on his Suicide Squad introduction of the Peacemaker character. It's pretty good. We get the 3rd season of Doom Patrol, which I also think is pretty good, kind of taking the whole DC television thing in a different direction. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do now that Gunn is going to coordinate everything the way that the Marvel Universe is coordinated. So that'll be interesting. We also have Ghosts Season 1, Paramount Plus, DVD only. Not
surprisingly popular to me. I'm like, wow, sometimes these sitcoms that break out really surprise me.
Never know. Creepshow Season 3, which has tons and tons of bonus content. This is from Shudder. I think it was a pretty smart thing for Shudder to do. We've got Riverdale, the 6th season. Heaven knows how that got to 6 seasons, but there it is.
A really wacky take on the Archies that you and I grew up with.
Unbelievable.
Like, really?
6
this is
seasons.
What we're doing with the Archies? This is what we're
6 years.
Yeah,
6 years. The Archie cartoon didn't run for 6 years. I think it ran for like 2, if even that. I don't
with a little touch of Josie and the Pussycats in there.
Yeah. The complete 3rd season of You, which is another one that has a bit of a following, and I had to kind of take a look at this. I think the quirkiness is what makes this show work for people. I like Penn Badgley. I dig Jenna Ortega. It's a good cast. It's what it is. Yeah, and it's one of the few shows that kind of captures a certain Northern California elitist motif. So it's a thing. We got a Showtime Steelbook of Dexter New Blood, which I didn't think the show needed to come back, but some people can't get enough of the twisted thing. Reacher Season 1. Let's talk about Reacher Season 1 because it's a really interesting contrast to the Jack Ryan show. These are characters that were incarnated in big movies by major stars, Harrison Ford, and in the case of the one, and obviously all the others we talked about, and Tom Cruise here. So how do you do a Jack Reacher series that doesn't have Tom Cruise in it, and how do you escape that shadow and make it work? I don't know. I think this actually works pretty well. This is Paramount made for Amazon Studios. Have you seen any of it?
Oh, sure. I did that whole season, and the reason why it works is because this Reacher is like the Reacher in the books.
Yeah, exactly.
Alan, Richard, he's 6'5". Reacher is 6'5". He is the guy. So when the Reacher, so the language of this series, is the language of the book, but the images in the series also match. When people are always talking about how big this guy is. And his nature and all of that kind of stuff. And then we see Alan, we're like, oh yeah, that didn't make any sense whatsoever in those Tom Cruise movies.
Right.
Because he simply didn't have the physicality. So they would usually kind of leave that language out of those movies. Occasionally they would try to, and then they would get the camera real low and try to put Tom on an apple box like they used to do Stallone and, and try to make him look like he was 6'5". But I'm like, that's not working. So mostly they just had to sort of ignore all of that. But in this series, they don't have to ignore it because this guy is actually 6'5". Crazy.
Yeah. Big dude. Definitely makes it his own.
Yeah.
We also have the limited series of The Thing About Pam with Renee Zellweger. I've
never told you this.
Okay.
Pam Hupp is the Pam that's in that series.
Yeah.
In 1980, whenever I got back from the Air Force, 83 or 84, I worked at this medical center in St. Louis, Barnes Hospital Medical Center. I was in human resources. I hired people. I hired Pam Hupp.
You're kidding.
I hired Pam Hupp to be the receptionist in the human resources department at Barnes Hospital in 1983. It was 83 or 84. And Pam Hupp was my receptionist. In my office. And it's so funny because I'm watching this and a friend of mine from way back then, Rhonda, who was also a human resources, a headhunter.
Holy cow.
I call her and the phone rings and Rhonda answers and she says, yep, that's her. This is like 40 years later, almost 40 years later. Yep, that's her. I'm like, I don't think I talked to Rhonda in 30 years. And she's like, yep, that's her. And so that Pam Hupp, I actually hired her. She was my receptionist, and then she went on to kill some people.
And they made a mini series about it with Renee Zellweger, dressing herself down and putting on weight and the whole. Wow. So how close is Renee Zellweger's Pam to the real one?
Well, Pam again, this was 40 years ago, and Pam would have been in her 20s when I hired her. But she was a thick girl, softball player. She was a real South St. Louis girl. South St. Louis girls were, it's kind of like Queens, kind of like Frank.
Okay.
Girl. And so Renee, by putting on a few pounds and doing that, and of course she's playing Pam 25 years after she was, because all of that stuff happened in the early 2000s or something?
It's about 20 years ago.
About 20 years ago in the early 2000s. So, and that would have been, 20 years after, she was my receptionist. So it was that blew me away, man. I'm like, I
my goodness.
Know the murderer chick.
Wow. Dude, I'm so sorry. That's crazy.
I find it very funny.
I got nothing to say about it. It's like Renee Zellweger thing about Pam. Tim, everybody. Well, we also, this is all anticlimactic now. Might as well end the show.
I don't know what that.
Seriously.
I didn't even know that was in the thing. But I've been meaning.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Tim knew a murderer. Good night. Wow. Gee whiz. Star Trek Discovery Season 4 on Blu-ray, loaded with special features. The gag reel is actually pretty funny, I got to admit. I have not been a fan of Discovery, to be honest. I mean, I think 4 seasons, it's a little bit like, it has felt over 4 seasons, as I have occasionally tuned in, a little bit like Legends of Tomorrow. Could you just settle down enough to kind of figure out what this show is about and who's on it? But I think season 4, maybe they seem to finally be getting there a little bit. I don't know.
Well, it like Picard. I feel like both of those series needed more development.
Yeah,
I feel like they were just pulling the trigger because they could pull the trigger and everybody get paid and all this kind of stuff. But I feel like they both needed more development. They both needed to be, frankly, more serious. A series, man, I'm a ridiculous Star Trek. All the way back, and only now are they starting to be about things that make sense and to sort of take themselves serious and to make themselves a part of the canon. So that's not good. That first episode of first season, I enjoyed. And then we did some wacky time jump thing, and into 700 years in the future. And I'm like, now you've screwed yourself. You painted yourself into a corner, and then to get out of that corner, you're doing this whole wacky thing, with the, and I was gonna, and same thing with Picard. We had a good notion here, notion. Romulan Empire destroyed, only all kind of that, because we could tie that back to some things that happened in Next Gen, and then we just went completely sideways. With those, so that's what I feel about those two. I'm fans of Star Trek stuff, but they went a little sideways.
And then, if you want to feel better about where COVID is, watch the special events from South Park, on the post-COVID Blu-ray, which is just absolutely stone cold hilarious. I imagine every week it's just really fun in that writer's room, sitting around going, how can we make fun of everything that happened this week? Absolutely everything. And they do it brilliantly. So post-COVID, South Park post-COVID, it is cathartic and wonderful.
1997, man. That is insane. South Park.
I know.
That thing was floating around in the middle 90s.
Second longest running animated series in history, next to The Simpsons.
Maybe?
Simpsons.
Oh, that's right, because the Simpsons beat the Flintstones.
Simpsons is the longest running TV series or primetime TV series ever of any kind. Yeah. It's crazy
80, now. 87 or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. It's nuts. Good money for everybody. All those people are billionaires now. Walk in, sit in front of a microphone and jabber for a couple hours and collect millions.
People have put their kids through college on those two, and people's kids have gone to college for those.
People have bought colleges for what they've made off of that show.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and then we have a ton of Ultraman stuff. Knock yourself out. Ultraman Zerth and Ultraman Zerth 2. We've got Ultraman Mebius, the series. We have Ultraman Nexus, the complete series, plus the specials, including Ultraman the Next. We have Ultraman Cosmos, the series, and the specials, which includes Ultraman Cosmos versus Ultraman Justice and Ultraman Cosmos 2. And then we even have the animated Ultraman Kids, the complete series, which actually is the one that I enjoy the most because I can't tell the others apart. It's like the helmets and the fins are the only thing that differentiates, and they all look the same. But I didn't even know there was an Ultraman Kids, and it's hilarious and it's really cool. And it's it's like very juvenile anime, but it's got next to nothing to do with Ultraman. It's just it's like a crazy anime series for kids with all kinds of funky characters, and I thoroughly enjoyed that one. So get your Ultraman on. There's something there for all ages.
I'm a disciple of that original 66, 65, 66 series.
The original
live action with the guy in the suit. And, the same thing happened every episode. And he had to fly to the sun to recharge. And what can I say? That's my Ultraman.
All right, Tim, I'm going to blow through a lot of this stuff. Chime in as you feel you need to. This is all, these are all classic movies. These are shorts and things, but this is all really, really good stuff. I'm just going to go by company. First of all, Cult Epics has given us a whole lot of Sylvia Christel for people who have a little bit of the,
Lady Chatterley.
Yeah,
which is interesting because there's a new Lady Chatterley's Lover out right now.
Indeed, there is. Well, Sylvia Christel was the original kind of soft core. I don't even want to use that word because that's sort of it. She was the original sort of vixen from the soft focus moment, the Emmanuelle moment in the late 60s, early 70s. So we've got Naked Over the Fence with Sylvia Christel. Don't confuse Sylvia Christel with being a good actress because she's not, but her movies are kind of memorable. And then a 1970s collection, which includes Playing with Fire, Pastoral 1943, Mysteries, and Julia. So Sylvia Christel fans can enjoy all of that. We have a bunch of stuff from Flicker Alley, who primarily focuses on classic films and mostly silence. This is a great bunch of stuff. We've got Silent Enemy from the Black Hawk Films collection, which is an absolutely beautiful film from 1930. Really one of the, filmed on location in some very, very remote parts of Canada, and one of the earliest looks at like authentic looks of Native American life, which is extraordinary. I mean, they embedded themselves with the Chippewa tribe, and this is nearly 100 years ago, so it really is rather significant. So Silent Enemy is pretty great. We also have from 1951 The Whistle at Eaton Falls, which is a very, very little seen Robert Siodmak film that is pretty great drama from the period. It's kind
Lloyd
of
Bridges, man, Dorothy Gish.
Yeah, it's a good solid 50s kind of social realism film that I think compares favorably with a lot of more like On the Waterfront and other films that are very much more well known from that moment. And then regular Flickr Alley Black Blu-rays, El Vampiro Negro, The Black Vampire from 1953, a really great Argentine classic. A couple of noir classics, The Guilty and High Tide, which are from 1947. Pretty great stuff, really brisk noirs, really solid. And then the very, very famous Casanova from 1927 by Alexander Volkov, which is sort of the first of many, many classic Casanovas. And, that's a silent era Casanova. And then we've got from Classic Flicks, not only the last 3 volumes, 4, 5, and 6 of their Little Rascals series, their restored Little Rascals, but those Rascals at Classic Flicks came out with a complete collection. And this is the one I would recommend for everybody. If you haven't been collecting them piecemeal, volume by volume, they've got all 6 discs, all 6 sets in a much tighter little compact box set here, the Complete Collection Centennial Edition. 1,300 plus minutes of the Little Rascals from all the way to about 1938. It doesn't include the later stuff, the more recent stuff, Robert Blake and all that. But
if one is searching Little Rascals as opposed to Our Gang, what would one get in terms of a different?
So you're going to get this includes all that early Our Gang stuff.
Okay.
It starts in 1929, so it is still the Our Gang stuff. So all the early from I think it basically started the early 20s. I think 22.
All that Hal Roachy.
Yeah, all that Hal Roach stuff. And then it takes you up to about 38, and then everything since 38. I think there were some things made between 38 and early 40s. I think that's the stuff that it doesn't have. But nonetheless, Centennial Edition, it's great. 6 sets. It's fantastic.
Fantastic.
Also, Orson Welles and Nancy Guild in Black Magic, which is a lot of fun. It's got a wonderful supporting performance by Margot Graham in here. It's well worth paying attention to. The best version of Jack and the Beanstalk, Abbott and Costello. This is the 70th anniversary limited edition, beautifully restored. This is out in a few different versions. This is the one that you want to get. They worked with the 3D Film Archive, did a fantastic restoration, and added a ton of bonus features onto this thing. Everything else is just, not even going to come close. The classic Claire Trevor, Dennis O'Keefe, Anthony Mann directed noir Raw Deal is also out from 1948. Really brisk, sharp noir, loaded with extras, including a really, really great Jeremy Arnold commentary on here. Raw Deal, one of those great Anthony Mann chillers. Yeah. And Mickey Spillane's I, the Jury in a limited edition in 3D. So, it's a little bit more of a, and this is 4K, by the way. This is 4K 3D. I don't know if there are any 4K 3D players. That would surprise me, but nonetheless, you can give it a shot. I think it'll work just fine either way. Anyway, let's see. Then we've got
Biff Elliott.
Film Detective. Film Detective does a lot of great kind of classic culty stuff. The Brain from Planet Arris is hilarious. You should definitely check it out. Girl on a Chain Gang is also hilarious. You should check that out. All this stuff is really, this is like early exploitation stuff.
Yeah.
Dancing Pirate is actually the first 100% Technicolor musical, if you can believe it. I had never heard of this.
Yeah.
It's not particularly good. It's from 1936, but it really is historic. It's really kind of a fascinating failure of a film. It's weird. Lou Ayres and Teresa Wright, the wonderful Teresa Wright, whom I just adore, in the little scene, little known Capture from 1950, which has a really cool audio commentary on it as well. We've got the oft released The Bat special edition with Vincent Price and Agnes Moorehead. This has been released at least 150 times on DVD and Blu-ray. This is probably the best one you're going to see. Has a very, very cool Jason Ney audio commentary on it, and a featurette. This is the better version of The Bat. The Monster from Green Hell, another fabulous exploitation film from 1957. One of those kind of post-nuclear. I mean, it's ridiculous. The special effects are terrible, and the movie is hilarious and wonderful. Battle of the Worlds, not War of the Worlds. Battle of the Worlds, with Claude Rains, who's just collecting a paycheck in 1961, the year before Lawrence of Arabia. Really kind of a fun post-nuclear, post-World War II exploitation science fiction thing. Fascinating story behind this, which you find out in the commentary by Justin Humphreys. Really an interesting story. And then the one that I really, really want to recommend from the Film Detective is the Tarzan Vault Collection, which is it includes million Tarzan films with a whole bunch of Tarzans were made. But these are some of the little seen ones. These are 3 early Tarzan movies, including from the silent period from 1918 and 1917, which are just bizarre. And really, if you want to kind of be a completist on the whole history of Tarzan, they got some great extras on here, featurettes and commentary tracks by Ed Hulse. Really interesting. Gives you the whole history of Tarzan in the movies. Some of it's kind of a little bit sketchy. So some good story, really some good stories there. And let's see. Film Movement also has some fun stuff. The Alain Corneau film Série Noire with Patrick Dewar, the late Patrick Dewar, very sad. Peter Sellers in Mr. Topaz. Did you see this?
Oh yeah,
he directed this.
Yeah.
This is a total bizarre lost Peter Sellers. I don't want to call it a masterpiece. It's eccentric, but he directed it. Sellers should have directed it.
60s, I think, maybe.
From what?
Yeah, the early 60s, right?
Early 61.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Alistair Sim, who a lot of people will be watching as Scrooge. If you want to see him in drag, you can see him in The Bells of St. Trinian's. It's a pretty terrific performance. This is all Film Movement Blu-ray. A couple here that I want to let's see. Claude Sauté and Romy Schneider, César and Rosalie, and Les Choses de la Vie. Wonderful double feature. Romy Schneider. Talked to a German friend of ours who just started getting all gooey over Romy Schneider. So she definitely still beautiful. Has so amazing. So another Romy Schneider film, L'important c'est d'aimer. The important thing is to love, by Andrei Zolovsky. Also with Jacques Dutronc. And then these are the two Film Movement ones I want to talk a little bit about. The Killing Floor, directed by Bill Duke.
Oh, Bill.
Did you ever see The Killing Floor?
I don't think I know that one. Bill Duke, of course, wonderful actor turned director, all the way back to Car Wash and everything else.
Bill Duke directed this in 1984. I did not even know about this. This is like Bill Duke's version of Matewan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is his first film. This is his featured directing debut. And it's about the story of an actual strike in the Chicago dockyards that was the first attempt in the country, apparently, to build a mixed race union.
Oh, wow.
And I was completely unaware of this film. It's from 1984. And they clearly, scraped some stuff together. But what a very, very impressive directing debut. Dennis Farina's in this. Moses Gunn is in it.
Alfred Woodard here.
Alfred Woodard. I know.
Wow.
it's a great little discovery from Film Movement. Really worth checking that out. So grab your Bill Duke thing. And then lastly here, the wonderful Gregory's Girl from Bill Forsyth, who, whatever happened to Bill Forsyth? Do we know?
Good question. Good question. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, shouldn't he still be around making masterpieces and stuff?
Oh man, I don't know. It's so weird the way those things go down sometimes.
I know. And
1981, that movie. My God, I've forgotten how long ago that was, man.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then from the Warner Archive collection, a whole bunch of great classics that are out this month that you should definitely consider for somebody as a gift. Night of the Iguana is a lot of fun. Produced by Ray Stark, directed by John Huston. Can't go wrong with that pairing. Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
No.
You know what? If you're going to be attacked by a 50-foot woman, she ought to look this good. Just saying. If she were, ugly and overweight and I'm trafficking in stereotypes. I know it would probably be more scary, but when she's an attractive 50-foot woman, oh, yeah, all right, I'll go ahead, attack me.
Particularly, yeah. What's that movie? That's like the late 50s or something like that.
It
right?
is. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Bela Lugosi in Mark of the Vampire, headlined by Lionel Barrymore, but Bela Lugosi is the funniest thing in it. Actually, what's interesting about this is that one of the supporting performers is Jean Hersholt, for whom the Academy's Humanitarian Award and honor is named.
Mm-hmm.
Frederick March in Ruben Mamoulian's amazing Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, still, to my mind, the quintessential telling of that tale. King Kong from Warner Archive, not the special edition that has been out previously, but it's got a lot of great special features on it. You can get this thing MOD, and it's still an absolutely superb film. Great commentary. Does it look good? Does it look good? Is it? Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah.
I wish they'd do this in 4K. I really do. I think it's ripe for 4K restoration. But still, this has the 7-part RKO documentary on the making of it, and it's got the commentaries and all the stuff that everybody's come to really love about it. Joanne Woodward and Rachel, pretty great movie. Produced and directed by her husband, Paul Newman, and pretty. It was nominated for a ton of awards, and deservedly so. Very, very powerful film. Kind of made Joanne Woodward in many respects as a star. Raymond Massey is Abraham Lincoln in Illinois. Not the greatest Abraham Lincoln film. I think Henry Fonda still kind of holds that down. You can get that one on Criterion. But it's just it's an Abraham Lincoln, one of many Abraham Lincoln movies. The Frisco Kid with Gene Wilder and Harrison Ford. Yeah. What a weird movie that is to look at today.
It is.
Like, I always forget Gene Wilder and Harrison Ford made a movie together. This is weird to me, man.
And in the late 70s,
that's Robert Aldrich. It's just an seriously odd movie, but nonetheless, it's funny and it's quirky, and there it is. Yeah. Gene Wilder and Harrison Ford together again. And The Adventures of Don Juan with Errol Flynn. So, a little swashbuckler. So a little bit of a little something of everything there from from all these various companies. A lot of wonderful classics, a lot of stuff really, really worth checking out. Tim, we got some other stuff here left. We've got, you want to do the Criterions and the Arrows?
Sure.
Let me grab those.
Yeah, let's do some Criterion and some Arrow. You can't really go wrong.
Yeah, Arrow has a couple of things out for the season. They've got Audrey Rose, which one of the more Robert Wise kind of going back to the genre a little bit at this point in his career, as he was he was always kind of drawn to it. So Audrey Rose, and not one of his best films, but it's a kind of a seminal film. Lots of interesting extras on here. Great new commentary, great new interviews, and a lot of interesting extras. Audrey Rose, one of the Marsha Mason and Anthony Hopkins particularly good in it. And then also from Arrow is Gothic Fantastico, which is 4 Italian tales of terror. Lady Morgan's Vengeance, the Blancheville Monster, The Third Eye, and The Witch. All 4 totally unknown to me until this set came in. I would not call them giallo. I know that's not how giallo is pronounced, but they are definitely Italian. There's no doubt that they have that Italian Gothic vibe to them. Tons of interesting extras on here. I want to say that Lady Morgan's Vengeance is maybe the most interesting of them. But what it mostly does is these four films kind of crystallize a particular moment and a particular corner of Italian cinema, and then there's this additional 80-page, booklet that they include with the box set. It's if you're an Italian genre fan, it's a must-have.
Yeah, Gordon Mitchell, all those sort of English actors notwithstanding, Gordon Mitchell in particular, he has this face. When people look up Gordon, you're going to see that face, and it was a particular face that was very popular in lots of horror movies across the 50s and 60s. He played that guy. He has this nose and these cheeks. It's very interesting.
So let's start off with our Criterion sets. Eve's Bayou by Casey Lemons.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
which I'm glad that this has maintained its reputation over the years and that it's kind of ascendant again. It was sort of fell in the cracks back in 1997. I remember, you and I both saw it way back when it was released.
Yeah. Casey writing there, and of course, Samuel L. And it gave us Journey Smollett, who of course was in the Lovecraft series and been on a bunch of things in years, and gave us Megan Good. This movie. A lot of folks, Debbie Morgan, came out of this film. It was actually a very well-directed sort of Gothic noir drama set in the South. And it was really, really good. Vondi Curtis Hall, all kinds of neat people in that movie.
And Vondi and Casey are married, we should point out.
Yeah, sure are. Yeah. But, Roger Guinevere Smith, all kinds of great folks in this movie. Became something of a classic in the Black community. You talk about Eve's Bayou.
Talking about Gina's career, Casey's had kind of the same trajectory because Casey is suddenly back in the awards talk with "I Want to Dance with Somebody," the Whitney Houston biopic, which is out right now. But we have not seen that yet. I know it's screened a couple of times, but they haven't sent us anything, have they? I don't think they're going to.
Any sort of link or anything like that. And of course, Casey started as an actress. She's in Silence of the Lambs and Candy and all kinds of neat stuff. And what did she have recently? Harriet. That was hers recently, the Harriet Tubman biopic. Very, very, very sort of interesting trajectory on their careers, coming from different angles, but nevertheless sort of making their way.
Well, there's a new interview with Casey on here, interview with Terrence Blanchard, the composer. There is a fascinating audio commentary with Casey and her producer and her editor. It's really kind of a good walk through the making of the film, and a bunch of other fun extras. Also from Criterion, we have a couple of films that, Cure by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, a J horror film from 1997. I come and go on Kurosawa. This is the other Kurosawa. Did you see Cure?
Way back then, sure. Part of that. There was a whole bunch of these movies way back then.
He's kind of
movies,
leading into the Grudge and Ringu, and which was remade here as The Ring and all that. Kurosawa is considered kind of the father of the J horror genre. Yeah. But I really come and go. And Cure is a film that I think I liked more at the time. Watching it again, it feels. Maybe I've just been too exposed to the genre, but I don't know. It doesn't date well for me. Nonetheless, a lot of people.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't ever need to see Audition again. For instance, I don't ever need to.
I didn't need to see it the first time.
So Tokyo Sonata is probably one that I could. Yeah, they all live in that area.
And then we got one here that was it was in our awards mix last year. This was getting a lot of votes, didn't win anything. La Llorona, Llorona spelled L-L-O-R-O-N-A, the Spanish way, by Jairo Bustamante. This was a 2019 film made. I guess it was about 2 years ago that this was in our awards conversation. But anyway, it is
It's Latinx ghost stories, it's folklore. It's Latin American folklore of this
Mayan. You can even say Mayan folklore. Mayan, it feels, okay. Yeah. I think it gets really, really into a lot of Mayan stuff. I mean, it's a Guatemalan film. Jairo Bustamante is a Guatemalan filmmaker, and we don't see a lot of Guatemalan Mayan cinema. And you forget that there are these indigenous communities there, which are Mayan, and they may not be building temples and all the rest, but a lot of people tend to think of the Mayans like the Incas or the Aztecs as an extinct people. Not true.
They're not. No, they're not. Right there.
They're right there. Yeah. How did you feel about this?
It's out of the Linda Cardellini and Raymond Cruz and Patricia Vack. It's out of the range of these sort of stories that I usually sort of like go for, like I don't know, the Babadook or something like that. But I appreciated how it really connected with the Latinx community, and they really sort of appreciated it. It was a little outside of my range. I think
I would agree with that. Let's see here. I'm gonna want to make sure just give some gift options to as many people as possible. These are like triple features and double features, bargain price, but somebody out there might love these films. So from Paramount, they've got a double feature of Duplex with Ben Stiller and Drew Barrymore, and My Boss's Daughter with Ashton Kutcher and Tara Reid and Terrence Stamp. Weird. I'm like, who says, hey, let's put Ashton Kutcher and Terrence Stamp in a movie together? I don't know. Anyway, that's there. She's All That, which I always had some fondness for. Rachel Lee Cook and Freddie Prinze Jr. Paired up with two other Freddie Prinze Jr. movies, Boys and Girls with Claire Forlani, and Down to You with Julia Stiles. All people who just aren't in the movies anymore.
Yeah, Freddie just did a movie just recently.
Did he?
Yeah, I forget what it was, but gone for a long time, Freddie, from the business. And then he came back and did something just recently. I can't remember what it is, but yeah. Well, Christmas with You. It's a Christmas movie. It's what it is. It's one of those Christmas movies. He's out there doing his thing.
Well, we've got a Glenn Ford triple feature. Glenn Ford, famous alumni of my high school, Santa Monica High School. I used to see his picture in the history building all the time, and then they tore the history building down. So they've got a Critics' Choice collection from Mill Creek of 3 Glenn Ford movies: Mr. Soft Touch, Affair in Trinidad, and Human Desire. Thought they're all really quite solid. I mean, Glenn Ford was an actor ahead of his time, even before The Blackboard Jungle, and that's the one most people tend to remember him for. But also a triple feature, the American Frontier trilogy. This is from Lionsgate. This includes Sicario, Wind River, and Hell or High Water. That's a great trio.
It is.
That's a great trilogy. That really is.
All of this is good, but Hell or High Water being the top film in that little grouping there.
And these are all from Taylor Sheridan, by the way, who everybody knows now as the guy of Yellowstone in 1932 and 1880, whatever it was, 1889. He's like, Taylor Sheridan is just the man now.
It's so weird that it used to be that artists would come up and they would may perhaps do a little work in TV in order to make them their bones as a feature film director. Now you make your bones as a feature film director so you can get yourself a television series.
Isn't that crazy?
And make some real money. I think that's so weird the way that has completely changed in our time.
It's flipped. It's totally flipped. And then a weird Martin Short double feature of Cross My Heart with Annette O'Toole, speaking of people who were in the original Supergirl movie, and with Danny Glover in Pure Luck. Boy, that's like really Martin Short and Danny Glover. I mean, I'm trying to picture the casting conversation where that was anyway. These are the things that happen, and it's funny. You watch these movies and you start to see all the names of all of these old executives who aren't around anymore, and you're like, oh my gosh, I remember when that guy was like, he was like the top production executive. He was the man at this studio and that studio. What happened to them? It's very depressing. Anyway, and then you get a couple of George Clooney movies, which I think are both terrific. Leatherheads, which he directed, and The American, which he did not direct, but which I also think is quite good. Yeah, I mean, The American has one of the all-time great chase scenes in it. It really, I just think it's absolutely terrific. And Leatherheads is, a comedy about the early days of football, which has John Krasinski in it as well. And I actually had a fun time with that. So, Those are all discount. You can buy any of those for a discount and make somebody happy. Stick it in their stocking or whatever. Let's see what else. We're winding down here. Shall we talk about some of these new movies?
Sure. Let's because there they are. These new movies.
Let's do some of the new movies. We got a faith-based thing, which is always good for the holiday season. Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. It will offend absolutely nobody. This is from the people at PureFlix who got in trouble at one point for copyright infringement, making machines that would censor movies without the permission of the copyright holders. But they're now doing what they should have done all along, which is making their own movies. Yeah. And so this is directed by a guy named David DeVos, and who also co-wrote it. And it is absolutely perfectly relatively sweet and charming. So it's a nice little message about being a good father and good daughter, and it's a good thing for the holidays. Speaking of George Clooney movies, George Clooney and Julia Roberts made a movie together again, Ticket to Paradise. Yeah. Did you see this?
I did not go see that. I was all set to go see it, missed it, and then it got really bad reviews. And that kind of, put me off, because, I guess we have so many movies to see that we have to make judgments about and I'm like, if this movie is not going to be a part of award season, and it sounds like it's not.
It's not.
There you go.
It's not. It's not in the mix, but it's not as bad as everybody said it was. And this thing, by the way, very interesting, because I would have, look, they have a history together. They're wonderful in the Soderbergh Ocean's 11, 12, 13 films. A lot of fun there, especially when with Julia Roberts, riffing on her own image and pretending to be a facsimile of herself in that third one. I mean, it's a lot of fun stuff. So it's a great pairing. I like the two of them together on screen. They're both getting a little bit older, and so they're doing kind of a Hepburn Tracy thing here a little bit. Right. They want to, they're divorced, but they had a daughter together, and they want to stop her from getting married to the wrong guy. It's, it's a rim shot setup, and let them, go at each other the way that Hepburn and Tracy would. But you know what? I mean, look, is it thin? Absolutely. It's thin. It's thin as rice paper. But are they fun together on screen? Absolutely. They're having a great time, and you have a great time with them. The smart thing was they released this overseas theatrically, and it made a killing. This made all its money overseas. Okay. So you don't need to see this. You don't even need to buy this Blu-ray. This has made its money already. So there it is. But it's perfectly fine, and it's another sweet holiday confection.
Yeah.
Life Mark, inspired by a true story with Kirk Cameron. This is another kind of faithy basedy thing. Faith adjacent, I think, is how these things are described. But you know what? It's got a nice message, and it's Kirk Cameron working with the Kendrick brothers, who the faith-based filmmakers who did Fireproof, and it's all about family and adoption and the strength of family bonds, and it's good holiday heartwarmer.
Yeah. Kirk keeps getting older, man. He needs to cut that
52.
out.
He's 52.
No, I'm like, dude, you're pissing me off.
We're getting down to the interesting stuff here. So, Honk for Jesus, with Regina Hall and Sterling Brown. Did you see it?
I did.
I thought this was hilarious.
It's very, very funny, and some really committed, big time, just going to the wall performances on the part of Sterling, and particularly it's just really, basically he's one of those preachers, one of those rhyming, fancy clothes wearing preachers, and mega church down south, and she's
and the mega church is on the rocks.
He did something, and they're trying to have a comeback, and there's another couple, and it's really sort of has an interesting sort of commentary and thoughts about all of that. But those performances, Sterling, he really takes it to the wall. In that thing, I thought it was very, very funny.
Sterling is one of those actors who he is incredibly adept as a dramatic actor, but he can be funny as hell when he wants to be. He can really kind of flip that switch, and he flips it a lot here. And there are times when he flips it almost uncomfortably. I thought it was very, very sharp, very sharp.
Another St. Louis boy. I always got to call out the St. Louis. Oh,
nice. And then we've also got Bros, as long as we're talking about movies that did not work. This is a collector's edition of Bros, which was supposed to be the gay romantic comedy for people who weren't gay. and turned out to not even be a romantic comedy for people who are gay, because nobody went to see this in theaters.
Billy Eichner and Nicholas. And the thing of it is, it just wasn't funny. And that's all it is. It has nothing to do with the gay thing. You get plenty of that, but this is just not funny. And if it's not funny, then it's just not funny. And that's all the hell there is to it.
You know what else isn't funny is Owen Wilson in Secret Headquarters. Man, did this just not work at all. So I thought this was going to be a lot of fun. I thought this was going to be, Owen Wilson is a guy who gets a suit when the UFO crash lands and it turns him into Iron Man and he becomes a superhero and his kid admires him. That's about 5 minutes of this movie. The rest of the movie is Owen Wilson gone somewhere as a superhero, and the kids finding his secret headquarters, which gets raided by a bunch of ex-government contractors, and the kids have to fight the contractors off until dad arrives with his suit at the last minute, and then the suit's not working. Yeah. I don't know who thought that this was a good idea. I really don't. It's a mess, but it's new and it's out there. Buy it for someone you don't love.
I felt bad for Michael Pena.
Yeah.
Because he is working his ass off in this movie. He plays the bad guy. And he's just working his butt off in this movie, trying to save it. And I don't know why Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman, they're the Catfish team from way back in the day.
Yeah.
Or back in the day anyway. How do they I really do not find I'm not making any sense out of these connections sometimes between these the directors, the writers. What are they even over here for doing this movie? It makes no sense.
No clue. Idris Elba in Beast, basically fighting a lion, kind of doing the same thing that Liam Neeson did with the wolf, was it?
Yeah.
The wolf or whatever it was. Yeah. Defending his family, fighting a lion. I guess it's fine. I mean, it's thin. But it's Idris Elba. I mean, it's a preposterous premise, but you kind of buy it because it's Idris, I guess.
Yeah. That's, you don't actually, but I appreciate it, the effort. But that's the problem is that I never did buy it. I just never did buy it. No. Yeah, that beast would have killed all that lion would have just killed and eaten all of you. And that's all the hell would have happened there. A24, dude.
I know.
I appreciate all of this. We're going to save the girls and all of this. And then it's one of those movies where there are too many moments where people just do stupid things that mean you ought to be eaten by a lion. If we're gonna be this dumb, then lion food is what you should be. And there's a lot of that in this movie. Where you're practically throwing yourself into the lion's mouth. So I don't. I can't feel for you people.
Well, T West or Ty West, I forget how you actually supposed to pronounce it. Who's been a long time kind of horror filmmaker on the low end, made a hit low budget film with X, and then followed it up with Pearl. And Mia Goth is pretty great in Pearl. I know she's in the awards conversation lately. They're marketing this two different covers. Check this out, Tim. It's very interesting. One is kind of cute and the other's savage, and I think that captures the film rather perfectly. Mia Goth is terrific in this, and it's a little bit of I Spit on Your Grave, but it's I think it's a fun follow-up to X, and I think it's better than X. Did you see Pearl by chance?
I haven't seen Pearl. I've got it over there. I really deeply appreciated X, though.
This is it's a prequel, actually. It's the origin story for X.
Which is why it's the same form. They're out there. X. They're out in the form. They're going to make this porno, and then there's this old couple. And what I liked about X, anyway, is that it felt like, it looked like, it sounded like a movie that's made when it's set, which is like the middle 70s, early 70s, middle 70s.
Yeah,
when it's set,
basically,
something like that. And it felt like one of those movies that we would have watched way back then. So I thought that he actually pulled that off. I still got to check Pearl out and see how I feel about that.
Medieval is speaking of Matthew Good, who shows up in this again as well. Michael Caine is in this for about 2 seconds. So is Till Schweiger. Like, everybody's in this. This is a big international. This is the most expensive film ever made in the Czech Republic, but it's in English. And it's about sort of the guy who is the Czech, in Czech history, this guy, he's like the equivalent of William Wallace combined with Georges Patton, combined with the Incredible Hulk. He's like with Napoleon times, I don't know, George Washington. He's like the ultimate, Czech homegrown hero, medieval knight. Anyway. And that's all it is. It's set during a period when there's chaos in the Roman Empire over who's going to succeed and become emperor and all this stuff. Anyway, so it's about this legendary Czech warrior and knight named Jan Žižka, and played by Ben Foster. And you know what? It's got swords and guys with armor and horses and a lot of bloodletting, and that's usually enough for me.
I wonder how the people though in the Czech Republic, is that what we call it now? The Czech Republic.
Yes, the Czech Republic.
I wonder how they feel about all these Englishmen and Americans.
I don't know.
I mean, you got Ben, you got Michael Caine, you got Matthew Good in this movie playing the heroes of their Bill Moseley. I wonder, they got to be like, hey, could you get a Czech guy?
They wanted to make money. Anyway, the movie is Medieval with Ben Foster.
Yeah.
Here's one that I didn't know about. 5/25/77. Which, if you're familiar with the date, you understand that that's tied to Star Wars. So this is a movie about a kid who loves science fiction and who. I felt so nerdy about this because this really ties. I related to this, where he like calls up the editor of American Cinematographer magazine, and somehow uses that to finagle his way to being able to come to Hollywood and see Star Wars. And I'm like, I turn around here literally right now, Tim. I turn around and I see a stack of American Cinematographers from 1980. Like that I bought that I can't get rid of. I'm like, oh, man, I'm such a geek. Anyway, there's a fun audio commentary on here with Patrick Reed Johnson, who wrote and directed this, and
Dragonheart. He wrote Dragonheart.
Yeah, and Seth Gavin of AV Squad, and I mean, this is a cute little. It's a fun little nerd movie. It's a fun nerd. Just if you're from our generation, you love all those sci-fi movies, everything from the era, you'll geek out on this.
Yeah. Space Invaders. That was his too.
Yes, it was.
He's one of our. He's literally.
He's one of us.
He's one of us. Like for real.
John Boyega has been getting a lot of buzz for Breaking, for Best Actor. I think we both liked this, didn't we?
Yes,
where he plays the Marine.
Nicole Bahari and all of that. Yeah. He was so good. Loosely based on a true story
about an ex-Marine who basically takes a bank hostage, but it's not because he's trying to rob the bank. It's because there's it's his last resort over his veterans benefits, and he just. I mean, in a way, you could almost have made a black comedy. Like, we've all been on hold forever with government agencies where you just go, I'm done. I'm going to go, like, if I can't get you on the phone, maybe I can get the cops to get you on the phone when I take over a bank. Yeah, it's almost that, but he's so good, and he's such a desperate man. And
obviously suffering, and it's over. Like, I forget what it was. It was something ridiculous. He wanted like $30 or $300, and the entire event was over some ridiculously small amount of money relevant to a veterans benefit that he felt that he was due. It's one of those things. It's not robbing the bank for $80 million. You people are going to give me by $2. And it's one of those. Yeah, very sad and powerful.
The Silent Twins. My goodness, I didn't know this story. Letitia Wright and Tamara Lawrence play the actual real life twins, these twins who created their own language to communicate with each other. It's the most amazing story, and I'm kind of stunned that this isn't more in the conversation with. I mean, Focus released it, and I'm kind of amazed that this didn't get any better attention. But mean, it's really kind of an extraordinary story, and some great performances in it. Why is this? I mean, you know, it's based on a book.
Yeah.
You have any thoughts as to why this movie just kind of got dumped?
I don't know. It really is a question. It's these two little black girls, but it's all in Wales. All of this is where all of this actually happened. You know, these two little black girls in
Yeah.
Wales is based on this book, and I thought it was quite extraordinary. It's just an extraordinary story, but it just did not seem to. It didn't get much of a release at all. Really, I mean, it was released, but it just did not become part of the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Kate Hudson, Craig Robinson, and Jun Jong Seo star in Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon, which is eccentric and fascinating and weird and interesting and everything you would expect from Anna Lily Amirpour.
I mean,
I always mispronounce her name. Who did that? Who did that weird kind of vampire thing a few years before? Anna Lily Amirpour. What was it? A
girl walks home alone at night or something.
That's the one. That's the one. That's right. Yeah. Who's a really, really stylish, up and coming auteur. And this is kind of this weird, eccentric noir. And it's it's got a little bit of magic in it. It's got some crime. It's got Craig Robinson, as comic relief. It's a little bit off kilter with the tone, but I guess people like that from her. I don't know. I'm mixed on it, but I kind of get what people like about it.
Yeah. It has a mood to it. It's sort of set in New Orleans, and interesting stuff for Kate Hudson to do too, I thought.
Yeah. Mac and Rita, I cannot recommend this at all. Diane Keaton, Taylor Page, Elizabeth Lale. I can't. This is like, let's take Diane Keaton and humiliate her by doing her low budget version of Big, except in reverse. Instead of turning into a kid, she turns into an old lady. It's Taylor Page turns into Diane Keaton. It's not.
But they're stuffing her in these little outfits and got her walk.
To teach you a lesson about how to treat the elderly. Not Taylor Page. Sorry, it's Elizabeth Lale.
Elizabeth Lale, and Taylor Page is her friend.
Yes, this plays her friend. Yeah, I just didn't. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work at all. It's really embarrassing for Diane Keaton to do this, and I don't know. Like most of the jokes come from the. Like in Big, the jokes are supposed to come from his friend, the little kid, and then Tom Hanks becomes grown up, and then there's a whole shtick that goes on there. He's a little kid in a grown man's body. Here, this is like Taylor Page and talking to her friend who's trying to be a young woman inside this old woman's body. It doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't work at all.
Nope.
It's so embarrassing. But you know what? We're going to mention it because it's new for the season.
After laying on, what was it? Was it a sun table? One of those sun tanning tables, a tanning table.
Yeah.
And there were like 3 movies in which these tanning tables totally just made all things. One of them was a time travel thing, and the other one was a change into an old lady thing. It was like just lay on a tanning bed. It was like 3 or 4 of those this past year. It's just the wackiest thing.
Yeah, truly unfortunate. And then lastly, on the new movie front, Clerks 3. This didn't need to be made, but no. I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna be kind. It's the holiday season. Look, if you love the first 2 Clerks films, I didn't think 2 needed to exist either. But if you love them both, then you will enjoy Clerks 3 and what it has to say about aging and mortality and all of that stuff. But that's really all it has to say. And you know what? I'm glad Kevin Smith lost all that weight, but he looks weird.
Yeah, it's look, yeah, I don't know, man. But yeah, of course, but all of this, look, Clerks 94, dude, that's almost 30 years ago. And they've been milking this, him and Jason and and all the guy, everybody who's not dead has been milking this for almost 30 years. And frankly, the juice has been gone for a while now. I do like that Dante, Brian O'Halloran, he's still hanging around. He's still in the movie. He's still the sort of central focus of things. which I think is sort of an interesting thing there. But that's really the main thing about the movie, that he's still there just about 30 years later, being a little bit rational about all the time that's gone by and how they probably should have done something with their lives. So that's kind of interesting.
Speaking, we spoke earlier about Rankin Bass, the holiday specials, and you know what? It's probably worth also then making mention of a great Rankin Bass film, kind of the original Rankin Bass feature film that's from Kino, came out some time ago, but it's a great thing to recommend for the holidays. The Daydreamer, which is the story of Hans Christian Andersen, shot live action. I used to watch this like 2 or 3 times a year when I was a kid, anytime it would come on during a holiday. Hans Christian Andersen is a kid who has these animated, when he'll daydream or he'll fall asleep, he has these animated interactions with imaginary characters who eventually become his fairy tales later on in life. So you have a Little Mermaid episode, you have a Thumbelina episode, and it's just an absolutely charming, Little Taylor episode, and it's all done in that animated style that we got from the holiday specials. Jack
and the
Guilford.
the voices
are so good. The Little Mermaid stuff. I mean, you have playing the
Bankhead. You got
Tallulah Bankhead is so good as the witch, the sea witch. It's just great.
Victor Borga, Patty Duke, Burl Ives.
Fantastic.
I guess Haley Mills is the Little Mermaid.
Yes.
Terry Thomas is in there. Ray Bolger is in there.
This is from Scorpion Release.
It's ridiculous.
It's fantastic. Scorpion releasing by way of Kino. The Daydreamer from Arthur Rankin Jr. and Jules Bass, based on stories of Hans Christian Andersen. Really, really terrific. Whole lot of fun.
Margaret Hamilton, Boris Karloff. I forgot about all these.
I know it goes on and on and on. Right? It's amazing.
It's fantastic. Wow.
Amazing. It's fantastic. Let's start to kind of wrap this out here. Looking at a few other things. Let me do some of these animated things here. We've got some kid stuff. Lyle Crocodile. Now you saw this.
I did.
What'd you think?
It's highly energetic, particularly the stuff at the beginning of the film with Javier Bardem. He's singing and dancing. He's this impresario, and he's trying to get this gig and do this thing, and he has this apartment at the top of this building, and he finds this crocodile that can sing but not talk. Little baby crocodile, and we watch as that entire opening sequence is very good, and then we move into a different movie. A movie that has, because Javier's character kind of goes away, this family moving into this building, into this apartment where this crocodile, this singing crocodile lives, and he meets the little boy and he has a mom and all this kind of stuff. And now we're in a different movie, and we're in this different movie for a long time, a less enjoyable movie. And then Javier's character comes back and the movie gets good again. That's the way I felt about it as we sort of moved through it.
Well, we've also got Ainbo, the Spirit of the Amazon, which is basically, I'm not really allowed to talk about Avatar: The Way of Water yet. Yeah. So,
what do you think? I see that. I think Tuesday or Monday or Tuesday or something. Like
I guess I won't talk about it right now. I'm allowed to social media about it, so I'm not going to say a thing about it. Yeah. But I will say something about Ainbo, Spirit of the Amazon, which in no way resembles anything to do with Avatar: The Way of Water. No, this is okay animation. This is from Shout and Shout Kids, and it all takes place in it's this little girl who's trying to, it's basically it's Save the Rainforest stuff, which we have we can also talk about Fern Gully here, which we also have on Blu-ray, but it's Save the Rainforest stuff and a nice animated film with some cute kids, and it's all right. It's fine. It's it wants to be Disney. It's not quite Disney, but it has its moments, and kids will have a good time with it. Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank, is really all about. I mean, yes, it's sort of Kung Fu Panda-esque. And it's got, very derivative character designs and all the rest. But it's really all about the voice casting. Gabriel Iglesias is hilarious. I could listen to Gabriel Iglesias until the end of time. George Takei, Ricky Gervais, Michelle Yeoh, Sam Jackson, and Michael Cera. It's all those voices. That's why you want to watch Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank.
Yeah, Mel Brooks. Yeah, all that.
Great.
Yeah.
I love Shaun the Sheep. My daughter loves Shaun the Sheep. Shaun the Sheep Farmageddon, the second Shaun the Sheep movie, not quite as funny as the first one. Not quite there. All the characters are back. It's a UFO alien invasion premise. Hit and miss, but Shaun the Sheep is still good for a laugh now and again. That's on Blu-ray, as is Rumble, which is not really my speed, but I suspect there are some boys that'll probably enjoy Rumble, which is more kind of wrestling, taken to the world of anthropomorphic creatures and all that stuff that Tim can't stand. But for boys who want to see kind of a pro wrestling and monster themed animated film, kind of it's very much riffs on the World Wrestling Federation, so you have to kind of have some sort of familiarity with that. But otherwise, Rumble, it's cute.
Stephen A. Smith, so like the sports caster or announcer, I guess, whatever he is. He's his very recognizable voice in there. Will Arnett, Terry Crews,
yes, very much so.
Tony Shalhoub, Tony Danza. It's great voices.
And then we also have the 30th anniversary edition of Fern Gully, which is almost exactly the same as Ainbo. Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest. A lot of people made fun of the first Avatar, saying it's basically Fern Gully, which it was. And I just want to say, I'm not allowed to say anything at all about Avatar, The Way of Water. So I have absolutely no idea if it's anything at all like, Fern Gully meets Moana. I have no idea. I have no idea. I have no idea if that's true.
Oh,
and even if I did, I wouldn't be able to say anything about it. So
Samantha Mathis, I've forgotten about she's one of the voices in Friend. Her and Christian Slater and Robin Williams and all. I've forgotten about Samantha Mathis.
Hey Arnold, the movie, is also out there for kids. Never really got into the show, but I know kids love it. Arnold, with one of many cartoon characters with a football-shaped head, in addition to Stewie on Family Guy. I don't know where that trend started, but it's creepy. Nonetheless, Hey Arnold, the movie from Nickelodeon and Paramount, out on a Blu-ray, and some good, voice casting there, including the late Paul Sorvino. Makes me very sad hearing that voice.
I never understand how the decision is made to make a popular animated series into a feature film. And plenty of them have worked, and it's been just fine.
Rugrats.
But I just never, why though? It's like, why?
I don't know.
Why make the kids pay $17 to go see this?
Good point.
That's weird to me.
Good point. And then a couple of Peanuts movies that you might want to pay attention to if you're a Peanuts fan. Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown, and Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown, both on Blu-ray from Paramount. You can get them as manufacturer on demand. They have the Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown has a nice new featurette on it, which is sweet. They look really good on Blu-ray. I'll give them all the credit in the world for that. And then, as long as we're on the subject of animation that you do not want to put in front of your kids, but maybe maybe you want to check it out. Brad Pitt and Kim Basinger, along with Gabriel Byrne, in Ralph Bakshi's Cool World. This is Shout Select Volume 138. And Ralph Bakshi, of course, Fritz the Cat and Heavy Metal and all that. One of the really aggressive adult animators who really pushed the envelope back in the 70s and 80s. Cool World was an interesting attempt at doing something that was sort of like a grown-up version of Roger Rabbit, right? And an early Brad Pitt effort. He's so young in this. It's so weird seeing him that young.
92, man.
I
92,
know.
yeah.
So, but it does the same thing that Roger Rabbit did, I think, better and more broadly, which is it tries to do the live action animated mix in a noir. And if you are a Roger Rabbit fan, it's probably not a bad double feature, because Bakshi has a very different approach, obviously, than Williams did in Roger Rabbit. But you know what, Kim Basinger, pretty terrific in this as well. So Cool World from Shout Select Volume 138. That's worth it too. Yeah. All right, I guess we should start wrapping up. Maybe one last thing, Tim. I'm going to do one last thing.
Okay.
Hang on. Let me do this. I want to. All right. I want to make him. I want to, a lot of Francois Ozon. We haven't.
Yeah.
We haven't covered a lot of foreign language films in a long time, and I wanted to do a shout out to Francois Ozon because there are so many good Francois Ozon films that have come out recently, and we should.
I saw that his remake or adaptation or whatever you want to call it of Peter von Kant recently.
So here are the four recent ones. Yeah, I mean it's hard to keep up with all of his good stuff, but Francois Ozon, one of the great French auteurs, currently working, and we've got 4 really good Francois Ozon films available. 1 on DVD, 3 on Blu-ray that you should probably take a look at. 3 of these are from Music Box, 1 from Kino, but the one on DVD is By the Grace of God. Which I wish were actually on Blu-ray. This is a really kind of an extraordinary story about clerical abuse. 3 men guarding a secret about clerical abuse, and it's still very, very timely. Really powerful performances. Summer of '85 had some really great festival exposure. This is, Ozon just makes so many diverse films. He makes just a wide variety of films. And this is about kind of a friendship during a particular time in a particular place, and a very unusual love story in that particular time and place. And these 2 young men and how their romance impacts them, during this particular moment in French history and in France. France with Pierre Ninet and Paula Beer, I think, is an amazing movie that didn't get nearly enough attention. It takes place right after World War I in a German town, and it sort of captures a lot of what was happening in Germany at that particular point in time in the aftermath of the war, but it also, it transcends that. It's very much about what was happening to Europe generally, and it's a beautiful, beautiful film. Should have gotten a lot more attention. And
2014 film. Yeah, so not terribly long ago.
No, and really a great movie.
What was that Ernst Lubitsch movie that?
Grand Illusion. Oh, not Ernst Lubitsch.
Broken Lullaby.
Yes, Broken Lullaby. Thank you.
Yes, taken from beautiful.
And then lastly, Francois Ozon and directs Charlotte Rampling in Under the Sand, which is probably her best performance. It's one of his best films. This was just an amazing movie when it was released in 2000. It's now 22 years old. Can't believe it. Yeah. But right, I mean, it's this is an amazing movie about this couple, and then one day at the beach, she has a nap, and then she wakes up and her husband's gone.
Yeah.
And there's no sign, there's no reason why he would be gone. There's no sign of any foul play or anything. And it's this amazing psychological study of this woman in this moment of crisis. It's just really, really superb. Charlotte Rampling, never better than in Under the Sand.
Oh yeah, she just sort of comes apart in that movie. It's beautiful.
Oh, it's fantastic. So let's call it quits there. We might try to do one more before the year wraps out, but otherwise, Tim, I'll hopefully try to see you in person before Christmas. But you're headed back, right?
Yeah, definitely gonna be in St. Louis for Christmas. But we got a while before then, and I don't know, when are you? I'm on the Christmas show.
So I am not on until January again.
Now until January, so I'll be on. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see each other before then.
Awesome. All right. Well, then, on behalf of all of us, we wish you all the very best. Have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. And if we don't get another show wedged in before the end of the year, we will see you in 2023. I still can't believe I'm saying that. 2001 seems so yesterday.
Oh, my God.
All right.
Turkey and some mistletoe help to make the season bright. Tiny little tots with their eyes all aglow will find it hard to sleep tonight. They know that Santa's on his way
He's loaded lots of toys and goodies on his sleigh, and every mother's child is gonna spy to see if reindeer really know how to fly. So I'm offering this simple phrase to kids from 1 to 92. Though it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to you. Love and joy come to you, and to you your carol too. And God bless you and send you a happy new year. And God send you a happy